after a 5K run.
I tell you what, nothing at Fireside. I tell you what, when I went and did all that swimming, and I went on vacation, the best thing I remember is when I got to the other side of the underground rivers, is they had cold cervezas, and it was just like divinity. I was like, just drink it. Then you like
I have a question.
Pass out on like a lawn chair for like 30 minutes. What's up?
Okay, what kind of beers do you like? Because like I waited till I was 21 to drink, so like I'm like way behind. So normally when I go to bars, which is very little, I go just give me something. I just let the bartender pick.
Good starter.
What is a good starter? Blue Moon. That's fair.
I like Dos
Peroni.
Equis. I like Dos Equis.
Dos Equis is good
Peroni,
too.
okay.
Yeah, Peroni. That's like an Italian beer, and I mostly think of like the Italian trip. But Peroni's pretty good. Stella's. Blue Moon's a good go-to. Yeah.
I've noticed that I like craft beers more, just because they're just so different every time I taste one. You know.
Well, there's a Guinness brewery up where I live, so I'll just go and like check that out. 'Cause they import some of their stuff from Dublin, and they have some of it that it's done here. So I mean, Guinness, if you want a good variety, or if you really want to explore, go to places that do like crafts and do like a flight, because they do beer flights too.
Oh, there's a Red Oak brewery right by where I live. So
You'll find quickly where your tastes are.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mine are everywhere because I'm an alcoholic.
Alcohol's good in meetings. You're just a drunk.
Yeah.
So you get to go to Alcohol Anonymous and D&D Anonymous. So D&DA and AA.
Can we just go to D&D Anonymous and have alcohol? Is this what this is
that's
right now?
that's pretty much what a good third of D&D is, until you become so out of it that you're not really playing the game anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Oh man, that's a Fireside chat for a different day. That would be season 5.
Ooh, I've heard this story.
Oh.
Oh yes,
No.
yes. Okay, I didn't understand that Connor. Okay.
No,
no,
season
that's not
5
Connor.
was not Connor. No.
No. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry.
But no, there are. No, I don't. You know what?
I think you added a season somewhere because we're missing like.
There is. It's the season that never was. There is a season in there. So I
its own room.
I just kind of like went with it for the longest time. But the more I think about it, I think I just add a season that never happened.
It was a season in your mind.
It was a mind season. It was we call it the Great Dark Times, like the Dark Ages. It was the season was noted. We do something different every season, right? That season we did nothing. That was the big thing that we changed.
I don't know. In my mind, I envision like the Star Wars Christmas special. Like that's what actually happened. Like it was like a spoof on Aurora Adventures.
Yeah.
I don't know why that was the first thing. Because technically it's canon. And it's just like no one's seen it.
It's kind of like when you build buildings and you skip a floor. It's like, if you can just still count from like the ground up. It's like, yeah, but that floor doesn't exist. We had the exact opposite. We had a season that didn't do shit. So
I'm still convinced that you just sat in your own office and you're like, and then the character.
That's just called writing, which is Remo. I'm very excited to finish up chapter 3. By the way, it is effectively Orion, Ty, William, Iris, and Kieran playing D&D, which is just fantastic to put down. Yeah.
Right, because if you're an old senile old man talking about the old days, isn't that really just D&D?
Pretty much.
Like you just
it's like
details.
I have a story for you, and
he's also the only one that remembers, right? So he's talking about the old days, but also like the only one that realizes the situation they're in. It's like we died. We all die.
Yeah, and he's doing. Yeah, and he actually got kicked off. That's why he got kicked off the force. If you think about like the Call of Cthulhu game, when he started making actual decisions based off of his peculiar mind state, and that's how Dahlia/Halia is now in charge of the guard. Yeah, he went a little nuts. So instead, he's getting it out through playing D&D and just saying, these things happened. Here, live them. Maybe people will remember, which is going to be interesting.
But
are you saying that it's a dwarf with Lovecraftian Roots. That sounds familiar.
Dragar.
Ooh.
But it's just Orion, so I mean he's batshit crazy for different reasons.
He's fine.
he needs no Lovecraft to go nuts. I don't know how I'm coming in. Mike looks like coming a little bit hot, but that's cool. How many?
Let's suppose
Oh,
that
God.
a really important email to a colleague.
This is awesome. So on my stream, that chat, that little fire thing that goes on for 10 hours, just kicked up an ad. This is amazing.
Or paper for your
This is
English
why you have
class.
to. I mean, if you
just
go into
have
my
to get an A
YouTube,
on
you
it.
won't have. If you're doing a YouTube thing, you won't get ads.
I'll just skip it periodically. I mean, what are you
Fair
gonna do?
Emma, you have the premiums?
I do. I have the premiums because I don't like ads.
Yeah, you
And I
consume
watch
all of
YouTube a
that
lot.
content.
So I was like, well,
I've
Oh,
been
it's
there
like
thinking
was
about it,
$10
but
a
I'm,
month.
There
I'm
was
thinking
a.
that, but I'm also like, YouTube,
Fancy.
you can't have my money. Go ahead, Kaz. Go, sorry.
There was
And then Sam, I started working. Oh, did everyone go quiet?
Hang on, let me get this out. Jesus Christ. Okay.
That's
there
what,
There's a promotion
said.
thing. You know what? Fuck you guys. There was a promotion thing that came out with Google. There really for people who had Spotify Premium. You could sign up and they'll send you the free like Google Puck thing. You get a free one.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
actually
yeah,
about
yeah.
because I had Spotify Premium, but I canceled it for a little bit to save a little bit of money. But I know next paycheck I was gonna kick it back up. I'm like, oh, I can also get a free thing out of this. I'm okay with this.
Heck yeah.
I got mine ordered.
So interesting fact. So I go to school. It's a lot of foreigners because of grad school, and apparently in India, like Spotify is like mostly free, and like for the most part, and like you can like you don't have like skip limits or anything. You can make playlists like. They're just like there's like it used to be like Pandora, but like in the early days, remember where you could like have like almost right before they like started getting like doing all the money grabs. So it was like that's just and then they come here and they're like they hate Spotify over here. They're just like why do I have to pay $10 for the thing that I do just normally in India?
Yeah.
And I'm just
Because it's in India.
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't use any other music thing other than Spotify.
Me too. Plus, my Spotify now connects to my Tesla. Makes me very happy.
Yeah.
Direct to. Don't need a paraphone. Just straight to.
Oh, that's
Well, I
fucking
did.
cool.
Well, I did that in YouTube because that's also how I found like the couple things I've been sending to you, Sam.
No,
for, like, the
you
stuff-
can call me Sin. It's fine.
like that's fine. That's
You
like
can call me
it's
Sin.
like
You
which
call me
letters?
Sam Sin. Yeah.
you heard that too, Dave, right?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. It happened.
Okay.
Wait,
cool.
what?
Nothing. Reality.
What?
Nothing. No.
Fuck you guys.
Channeling
Shut
inner sin,
up,
I
you're
see.
laughing. You're laughing at me.
I'm just waiting for all the Shirley jokes. Like, surely you wouldn't call her sins. Like, I would. Stop calling me Shirley.
Oh man, is it time to bring back the Shirley jokes?
Oh, I mean, season 9. Yeah, I think it's gonna happen. You can't play D&D without just some slapstick bullshit.
Yeah, what happened?
So is this the same plot that you teased in season 8? Season
No,
8.
different.
Oh, okay.
You're
Okay,
thinking
so
season 7. Season 7.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Season 7. Wayfinders.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Season 7.
Because things have progressed, right?
They have
Since
progressed.
then.
Yeah, because in season 7 they actually did not address that plot line. It continued on with or without
That's
them.
concerning. That's
Right.
concerning.
And it's made its way
Poor
down
guy.
to Crystallis's area. Yeah.
Oh.
God.
So, I mean, but we're not here to talk about your upcoming season. We're going to talk about the seasons that came before.
The season of old.
It reminds me of a story.
3 weeks earlier.
3
Reminds-
weeks earlier. 3 years. We're almost year 4. It's crazy.
Yeah, 4 years.
4 years earlier. Yeah. So we started Arhor'ha. What was the inciting incident? I think it was Stephanie, right? Stephanie and Brent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it was like Stephanie, and then
Stephanie
Connor
watched
was like,
Critical
"Hey, I'd
Critical
play."
Role, and Connor liked Lord of the Rings, and had lots of cool Lord of the Ring minis, I might add. So props to Connor. As usual. Hashtag props to Connor is just going to be an ongoing thing. But he had a lot of minis from Lord of the Rings. which is pretty cool. Stephanie wanted to play because she was a big fan of Critical Role. Again, I, to this day, have only watched one episode of Critical Role. Just because I don't consume. Well, my excuse is I don't watch anything on YouTube. I just don't consume media.
I consume a lot of media, but that's not where my brain immediately goes to. I consume a lot of media.
That said, I've mentioned this Sam before. Like Hart Mercer, he definitely took elevated D&D to a new level. So I'm glad that. And I don't think that Stephanie would have been so into it, or Brent, your cousin, if it wasn't for that, Critical Role being so popular.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, Dave consumes media just by proxy with us.
I do. I absolutely do.
We're like, hey, here's some pop culture, Dave.
I put in instant message 0 like / and someone's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, it's a wave. It's like hello. It's like
oh my god, I did that once. I did the 0 / in the Beat Saber modding group once, and I got yelled at and accused for making a Hitler salute.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness,
considering Sauce does like the OK sign upside. Yeah. Let's not. And he's part of the community. Let's not go down that road.
My Twitch was doing the everyone's quiet for a while thing, and I just came in on Hitler salute, and I'm just like, what? It's like, dude, Hitler salute. I'm like, what happened?
No. It's the wave sign. Yeah, I've definitely learned quite a bit over the course of the 3 years, and most of it is mainstream media that I wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. Season 1 started after, well, we got Stephanie and we got Brent. Mm-hmm. And, Emma, you'd never played before. I DM'd
I played
so much.
Oh no, I had played
You played
2 times before.
You had? Oh, right. So before Aurora, right. You played the precursor that where you played, and your experience was with Alcina, and I played as Clyde, and I am so very sorry that was your introduction to D&D.
Yeah, we had a DM that wanted to kill us, and so that was fun.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Like, is this normal?
I'm like, no, I need to get you in a... I think that was also part of it, too. It's like, I need to either get you in a group where the dungeon master is not just off his rocker, or I just need to be the DM. Because that DM...
This is more than a sofa. This is where you sink in.
Okay, that's a sofa. Because that DM...
like, Wayfair is just what I need.
It spawned like 4 great birds, and they all did fireball at once at us, and we were forced to be in AoE range. Like, we couldn't be like, yeah, we're not there. And I'm like, with D&D, you roll the punches. So it's like, I guess that's where it is in the chaos of adventuring. So yeah, we're clustered together. Okay. It's like, and you all get hit 4 times with fireballs. I'm like, we're level fucking 3. So it's like, how would you expect us to not survive this? Like, well, they're weak to they're weak to piercing. It's a very common source of damage. And I'm like, well, I shot one and crit one, so shouldn't it be instantaneously dead? You're like, no, I wanted to live long to fireball you. I'm like, okay, well, this is a bad DM. So between that, Emma was on board.
D&D.
Brent, Connor had that love. Was there someone else? I can't remember with our first session. I don't think so. We had Zell. No, we had
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
So we always forget about Zelly Boy. So our first washout character in all of Aurora Adventures was a character as a character. Yeah. Pretty standard, 1 per season. The our washout character was a character named Zell, who was a fighter, mercenary. We don't talk about Zell that much, probably for good reason.
I mainly know he cooked. He was like a coworker from work, a coworker of course from work, one of my coworkers. And I was like talking about D&D, and he's like, "Oh, I like to play." I'm like, "Hey, player, cool." Mm-hmm. And then he came like twice. And then he didn't show up after that. And so his character just like blooped out of existence.
It was fun. So it was your coworker. We're just going to refer to that coworker as Zell because I do not remember his name.
I'm being real honest. I don't remember his name either.
Fair enough. Connor, you, me, Brent, Stephanie. And the very first session, the very first anything for Arhor'ha was a culmination of different scenes that ended up in the Targaryen Manor.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you check the map, because things have grown over the course of the 4 years, to the west of Crystalis, there is this like little thing for the Targaryen Manor, like rich people houses, like California rich people houses, right? Which is where everyone was going to, because Willis had done a thing. Yeah, Willis had done a thing, I think months ago or less than months ago, where
go there.
Yeah,
and like multiple people were going there. Like Dahlia was going there as a mercenary.
Dahlia was there to go burn your house down.
Or like was going there because Willis had been in hiding and she didn't know, and no one knew where he was.
Right. Ayo's motivation to go to the mansion was that she had received a message from her brother, who was a fugitive at the time, to go meet there because he believes that he can clear his and the family name because he did a thing. He did a thing. It wasn't really being able to tell what the thing was, but like it kind of summoned the demonic entities, I guess devil, infernal entities, and made the king's son prince, and kind of removed the entire house from Crystalis' power. It's like being delorded. And I was pissed because she had this lap of luxury situation going on here, and it was taken around like a valley girl losing her Ferrari.
Yeah. She lost all her fancy things.
She lost all her fancy things. What was her flaw? We started, everyone had like a, whatever you picked an 8 in, if you're going to do that, you had like this flaw ability.
Oh, she was better than everyone else.
Yeah, well, no. Her thing was she wouldn't carry anything. Like, because she had like an 8 in strength.
Yeah. She would not carry anything at all. Everything was on her horse.
Yeah.
She carried nothing.
Yeah, so our very first season of Roar, where we started was, if you picked an 8, whatever that 8 was would be of some real flaw, like some detriment that you would be working off of. Nothing as crazy as like light sensitivity that the Drow have, but little things for you to play off of. So Ayo had picked the lowest in strength, and she refused to carry anything, going with her, I am better than you. I don't carry my things. People carry things for me. So the most that she ever had on her, I think, was a dagger.
I think at one point I had a dagger, and I always had the stone, like my necklace, but that was it.
Yes, that's it. Connor, which became a funnier thing with later seasons, is he was illiterate because he had 8 intelligence, so he couldn't read.
Read or write, which is always right. We're like, draw what you saw, and he's like, oh, all right, I'm just gonna try to do this.
I forget what Zell was again. I can't remember too much of him. I don't remember what Dahlia's was too, because she picked a low in charisma. So I guess like that no one likes her, which really just fit from start to finish.
Yeah, she greeted every new person very abrasively.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Zell, that sounds familiar. Is it called Zell's potion?
Yeah. Well, Zell.
Because he did have a potion.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Zell had a potion that did come on. It was like Zell's potion. Everyone also had something of interest, or was something of interest. But yeah, Zell's like MacGuffin was Zell's potion. His plotline really involved around what's up with this potion. Of course, didn't get explored. I digress.
But it did get used eventually.
It did get used eventually.
Well, it did. It did get used, and it was like one of the most important things that happened this season.
Yeah. That's the potion came. I want to say showed up in maybe 4 different seasons in different ways. It was a very important item. It's like of Sunder level of importance, but again, it got about so much screen time, but Zell's potion started there.
And it came down to, what do I have in my bag left?
Well, last time we used it, it exploded. We're like, maybe let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't mean to derail the
ramblings.
Current ramblings, yeah, but how did you come about creating the world Arhor'ha? Like what? Like
yeah,
what,
yeah.
Like
Just what? Just,
The
like, what?
just what, like the name and just how,
With so
yeah.
many patterns.
I
What's your
think
world building strategy?
Yeah, my world building strategy. So I wanted to, instead of create.
Wayfair commercial.
I know, good time for a commercial. If you're looking at the stream, it's like, would you like some carpet with that?
That's what she said.
Oh my god.
Oof.
So
That was a good one.
what was my
You're my friend.
what was my process? So the very beginnings wasn't really called much of Aurora. It was based off of seasons. And I think the very first season was called like Aurora Reigns. And it's just like, Aurora Reigns! Like, it really is something a drunk person might say. Aurora Reigns! I'll take off next Aurora Reigns! I think Brent even made fun of it at one point because of just how it kind of like sounds like something that you didn't enunciate correctly. But,
It sounds
was
like Sin talking after her vodka.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Fuck you.
We're not completely there yet. One thing I wanted to do with the world building is what are some things that are different from current world and work off that. And the Aurora Borealis was absolutely one of them. So the very first, like, what would you change to make it iconic was the Sky Aurora. So things sort of leaned from there. As far as the rest of the world, I didn't go too crazy with it. The idea of spending so much time world building is it's a detriment, right? Like the wastes haven't truly been explored, but why build it if you're not doing anything with it? Instead, it's like, what are the characters going to be doing in the next, 3 to 6 months, and build the content that relates there. So,
And I've heard that before too. Is like, well, why build it when someone else can help build it with you, right?
Yes.
And then it becomes both of yours.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's another
And now
reason
you
why
both have stakes in it.
And it's also why world building wise, we chose not to create like an anonymous island off the coast of who fucking knows where. The choice to make it in Abertoral and off of the Sword Coast was the same concept, like building off of. In 4th edition, I had a persistent campaign that was in like the mainland, and I want to do something a little different than that. The 5th edition seemed to have this big kick around the Moonshays when it started, like Lost Mines of Flanders and all that stuff. So I was like, Moonshays. We'll still set this north of the Moonshays. The Moonshays are a series of islands, and I wanted the landmass to be approximately the size of Australia. So did a lot of research, like what's the landmass of Australia? What does that look like? How long would it take to walk around Australia? Things like that during world building, just to get an idea of how travel would work. And the other thing I want to think is the idea of abundance, but dangerous abundance. So there isn't a difficulty finding food, but that means there's a lot of herbivores. As well as a lot of herbivores, there's a lot of carnivores. As a lot of carnivores, you are food. So food being there is not hard. Getting to food and staying alive is hard. Yeah, so then I was like, okay, well, who would live there? Anything dances with wolves. Like, well, that helped really set for elves, which related to Farron's backstory. It's like, Farron, you're an elf. It's like, what would your history be with your some 100-odd damn years? So you need to know that to say, hey, it's a very dangerous world. You're very Legolas-like. Do you know the wilderness is absolutely dangerous? Helped play into the idea of Willis's situation, because if he wanted to live outside of civilization and not get eaten, he needed help. So little tidbits like that start doing the what if. You start like thinking through it for the world building and the story building for season 1 in the first session. Another thing that really kicked in very, very early on is how the world looked at science. Like the idea of scientific advancement as opposed to straight magic. So Ogma, which I know Mig Travers, but the Ogma thing came from Brent. Well, you'll be quite pleased because I'm not gonna say Mig, but Mig's influence is in season 9. We're talking about season 1 now. So
It's like, we're not there yet.
the idea of thinking of science as a religion, we're in modern society so close to it that the same processes and ceremonies could be seen as the idea of how science works. So the religion of knowledge, or Ogma, and Ogmaism, is very much scientific in Crystallis, the main city. So seeing how science works and advancements, like a big thing that I do actually completely agree with Rem is the idea that you don't put major, iconic things like gunpowder in the world, because it changes the dynamic for lots of different things. And plus, you don't need gunpowder when you've got things like fireballs and magic, so why would you advance down that path anyway? So no gunpowder. There is a church for science, and then the idea of when would you follow science versus magic, and that got interesting. And it brought a good point for one of the characters, Modislok. Like, what would that help with your backstory? It's like, I wanted to be a wizard. I couldn't afford it, so I became a scientist. Interesting. Now he's a cleric, because he's going out doing field work and shit. He's testing a theory, trying to find out why Fricks, who I think was how I first started the Mig voice, a fast-speaking, excitable gnome, was researching something and went missing. Like, he got too close and he was told to stop. And I was like, I pursue knowledge, fuck off. It's like, well, you've learned things you shouldn't have, so you have a problem. So Fricks was going out to say he was stripped of his grant money and his research, and he was like, you know what? I don't need my grant money. I don't need my lab. I know where to get the rest of these answers, but it requires us to be bold. So Modislok and Fricks went to the mansion to get answers from the Targaryuses. And yeah, for Io, there definitely was a lot of leanings for the Game of Thrones element at the very beginning. So now that this is kind of like gone from there, I'm like, how do I backtrack this without getting like, things pissed at me? But the original was very, hey, I want to be like a little bit of Daenerys Stormborn. I want to be kind of like a cold bitch about things, but nice about it. I mean, it was an opportunity to be someone different. And then, like, why that's important, another world-building thing had to do with what are the genres that collided. Harry Potter is one of them. We really haven't done much with that beyond there are 4 houses that make up a magiocracy. And the idea of if you have things, like if I have money, I rule, I govern the area. If I have military power, etc. It's interesting. It's always fascinated me from D&D, like Forgotten Realms and a place called Luskan, is that you can rule by magical power. So that's the idea of Crystallis was ruled by magical powers or a magiocracy. Hence 4 houses and keep things in balance. And then what civics are, and like, okay, we won't go too deep into that. For season 1, it doesn't really pertain to anybody. Just kind of move forward.
Yeah.
So then there's the normal class. So there's the people that have and the people that have not. This is back when like Dragon Age was still a thing. So the idea of people understanding social stratification was a little easier than like Les Mis. So I mean, it's not a Dragon Age 2 thing. It's been around for fucking ever. But people who literally live higher up, like in Final Fantasy VII, and people that live lower. So the people that live lower have shittier lives, and that will be making a return in season 9 because you're going back towards Crystallis if you're going after Jacob.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, assuming that that's the main plot that you're going after, at this point in time, I'm building content with that assumption because it's the only plot that's established.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all down to kill him.
Of course you are.
Of course you are. I'm almost completely betting on it for a lot of the more tragic decisions. So.
What, you want to kill something, Sam?
That's not expected.
Nani?
Oh my god.
Let's see who else. So that explained Dahlia. So Dahlia had this hard knock life situation where she was. What was she? She had the classic, I am the sole survivor of my village. Wah, wah, wah. Which everyone has a character like that, sole survivor. In fact, we had 2. Farron was a sole survivor story where all of his tribe got killed. I'm like, okay, I'll find a way to make this work. Same thing with Dahlia. Dahlia was like, okay, I'm the last survivor. We'll find a way to make that work. And the 2, I'm like, well, if you're both sole survivors, you guys can figure out that you've met each other. So Farron was the one who brought her back to life, so when they met each other, they wouldn't be complete and utter strangers. But they would be like the more gritty characters that have this mutual understanding of not murdering each other. Zell is Zell. Zell is a complete question mark. He just kind of like, I'm a fighter and I'm playing today. And I'm like, okay. Well, there's got to be one, and that's you. So,
Yeah.
so he almost died within the first hour, which was hilarious.
Well, he came from Io's uncle, right? Taught him how to make alchemy and everything. That's how he had his potion.
Yeah. So Zell's backstory. Energy drinks are good. Zell's backstory was that up near Verde, which you started Wayfinders at, there was, I think it was great uncle, but there was Io's uncle or great uncle that was working on something very important, far away from Crystallis, and he was killed. That's actually why both of her parents are not even present for a great deal of the entire season, leaving the kids, all four of them, more or less to fend for themselves as they investigate the murder of their great uncle and the very sensitive thing that he was working on. He was working on a potion, which is also the key of Gigareth. So this item has had multiple names across its usage. So the key of Gigareth, also a potion, what they were looking for, and they killed him and tried to get it. What they didn't know when they went to go kill him was that his apprentice, Zell, had it. So they killed him for nothing. They came back empty-handed. Zell had this potion, very very innocuous. This is like a good luck charm. This weird potion, pretty much how it was used the entire time. Like, I have this thing. I don't know what it does, but it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a potion.
It's a thing. It's a thing that I have. That's Zell's backstory and how he started. Dahlia was an arena fighter, very classic. I have no history. I'm gonna live a gritty life and fight in the arena. I'm a fan favorite there. Farron was like, I am effectively like Legolas or maybe Erwin.
He like
Aragorn.
Like Aragorn. He essentially like gave like ferried people, and that's not the right word. Guided people through the woods and everything.
Yeah, he's a ranger.
Yeah.
Like, he was a guide, so if you need to go from place to place, like going out hunting and didn't want to be murdered by displacer beasts and phase spiders or other such things like dinosaurs, if you wanted to go out hunting, you would find someone that understands, where it is safe to hunt, so you don't wander or get yourself killed. Food's still very important. So he still had, the only connection he had to society is doing that work after his tribe was, eradicated by Gig.
Yeah.
So Farron's backstory, with bringing it all together, was that he is part of a nomadic tribe. So the idea of how the bird tribe and how we went with like animism, very shamanic origins for the elves. Like they take some sort of animals or spirit animal, and that really defines how the tribe works. So he was of a bird tribe. So they move around a lot, and they're hunters. So he's somebody killed everyone, which is now known as the apostate or the betrayer. And Farron saw him while he was trying to conduct a ritual that involved killing lots of people, and he killed him. He stabbed him with a knife, which became Demon's Bane. And then years later, the situation happened with Dahlia and Iris, where Gig wasn't completely destroyed. You really can't use a lot of inspiration from the idea of how like Sauron works. Like, you can't really kill them. You just kind of disrupt their material form. It's a displacement. It's kind of an annoyance. And instead occupied someone who was a lot weaker. Occupied Iris, who's a very young girl, but didn't have really the will to fight off Gig. And still had the cult, and the cult more or less was one part of, again, surprise, I don't think I ever talked about this, part of Dahlia's village, and those that weren't were killed and offered up too. And the Dahlia, wasn't for it, and was like, give my sister back, and then boop, off the cliff she goes, straight King of Fighter style. Who am I missing? I covered I covered Modestlock. I covered Zell. Covered Io. Covered Farron.
Covered Dolly. I think you got everyone.
All right.
Did you cover? I guess you got all the PCs. I guess I was gonna ask where is Clyde anywhere in there in first season? I can't remember.
He comes in later.
He's in season 1, and that's a lot of fun. He's not in the first episode of it, but he absolutely is. He shows up.
Season 6 mirrored season 1, right? Remember,
in a lot of ways.
Episode?
Yeah.
The first episode, yeah.
Because everyone arrived.
To each other.
Yeah, everyone arrived at the mansion, which is exactly how season 1 started, with everyone having their reasons for arriving at this mansion, which is very, very iconic to how modules work too. Tell me your reason you're at this bar, but you're at this bar. So instead, we worked on session 0s to find good reasons why you're at this bar, which is a bit of a departure, and make sure that your reasons weren't just some random ass shit. So. And you'll see that with newer players that come in. It's like, I don't understand your world. I don't know. So I'm going to make some shit up and I appear. And it's like, no. We're going to make sure that you have some legitimate reasons of why you're here with your session 0. Anyway, so that also means that people were there for different reasons and had different factionalities behind it. I was there to go find her brother, which she got a letter saying that he would be there to talk to her. Farron was guiding Willis there, so he was being more contracted to be there.
Farron was guiding Modestlock there.
No, he was guiding Willis there. Remember? He's like, why is Modestlock was going there with Fricks to get answers from them, right? And that was the idea with like the horse, and the horse ran off.
Right. Oh, right. Because I remember how you played Willis like he was stupid. And
then like literally it's like, this is the one that you like, and then it's like, it was a ruse. I don't know who I can trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. He got like lost behind a tree. Yeah. Willis is very not wood savvy. So it's like, where is East? Like he's like, who are you and how have you lived this long? So Farron was guiding him to the house. Modestlock and Fricks were on horse over. And then the first interaction they ran into Io. And then the two of them and her majestic horse, Maximus.
Yeah, Maximus.
Who carried all of her stuff and then ran off with all of her stuff. So she's like, I gotta go get my horse. Multiple times.
Look at my horse. My horse is amazing.
He was an amazing horse, but she lost her horse many times. Many times.
Season 1 was like, how many times can you lose Maximus? So many times. Ran off and went to the mansion, of which, Fricks and Modestlock, they felt at least, I don't know if responsible, but they felt like, hey, okay, we'll do damage control with you. We spooked your horse. Okay. So the three of them, so that would be Farron, Modestlock, and Io, got to the house first, along with their associated companions. Zell and Dahlia were of different breed. They were being sent there as mercenaries to assist the royal guard to capture Willis, because they had a tip that he would be there. So it's a lot like a witch hunt. They just need to say, oh, you're here? Great, we're going to go there. We're talking about a pretty powerful family that's got draconic blood behind them. We're not sure how they react. We'll use it to display a force. So they hired some expendable muscle, of which Zell forgot how expendable muscle was when he was like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, well, you can do this, or we can take care of this right now. It's like, well, we'll take care of this right now. It's like, and he's like, that was an intonation that they're going to kill you and leave you on the side of the road.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Because they are effectively doing a grand arson cover-up, and less witnesses that can't be worked with, the better. They were given staffs, and the staffs were to find. I think it said they'll help them find Willis if he's hiding in the house.
And they said, don't drop the stick. I remember correctly.
Don't drop the stick, right.
Yeah. They were told they had sticks and they could not drop them.
Do not drop the sticks. Like, if they hit the ground, that's going to activate them. You know, they're more expensive than you are, so don't drop them. What's up?
Nothing.
Okay. So they went as far as going in, and then they kind of everyone rushed into the house, and that's where you got Jarvis, because Jarvis was the butler, Jarvis Green.
Oh, yeah.
The first time you met Jarvis, I just summoned the dog. Hi, Jarvis.
Of course you did.
You were named off a D&D character. Did you know that, bud? Of course you don't. All of our animals except for Bentley are named after Arhor'ha NPCs or characters. Bentley was a rescue, so he's Bentley. So Bentley's Bentley. But Jarvis is off of barking.
We also said Bentley before we played D&D.
That's true. He's like breathing into the mic. Bentley, you can
I
just.
can hear it.
Guys, lay down. I know you've been outside recently. You don't need to do anything.
Oh, I mean, Bentley's a tall dog. He's just like, I need to get as close to the mic as possible so you can hear my excitement.
Just waiting for him to bark. He's kind of doing the mouth thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone makes it to the mansion, and you know, old man Jarvis is like, "Oh, Io, nice to see you, Sir William, nice to see you." He's like, "Who are these people?" And like just let them in. So everyone goes inside. And the mercenaries are outside, and they ask, the main person asks to enter. And it's like, no, we're not going to let you in. I'm like, well, you know, it's funny this thing about asking. I'm kind of telling you. Like, I have a score of men behind me. You're an old man. So they effectively, what is it? I think that at that point... They rush inside. And
yeah, we were in the study on the second floor, so we didn't know.
Right. You guys rushed in to hide because Jarvis is like, go upstairs, go to the study. It's a safe place to hide. They can't do much to you there. But that's where the first fatality of Arhor'ha happened, because the captain of the guard, later explained in season 6 as Thomas, stabs, like straight kills Jarvis. Like, just stabs him. Aww. So just kills an old man, just stabs him right through the gut. Walks a few steps in, gives like the eye to Io, and the guards go in and they find that the rods that they're doing are actually burning the house down. So they're not to find Willis and where he's hiding. They are to incinerate the house entirely. At this point, Zell and Dahlia have decided that, 1, they don't think they're going to get paid for this. You know, 2, they're probably not going to get out of this alive, because as other people are using their staffs like to get paid, they are also getting incinerated. So like, well, if I use the staff, I die. If I drop the staff, I don't know. I probably will die. I think it's going to go off regardless. I'm basically holding, you know, a Molotov cocktail. It's as big as my head. So maybe not do that. So she held on to her staff, Dahlia, and her and Zell, everyone made up to the study. And at that point, the staff incinerated, so it was protected. And there was something else. Oh, it was the idea that like Dahlia had this connection to Iris. So she kept on hearing this tick, 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 ticking because she had a clock. Her like item was
that was her item.
Right. Her parents, before everything happened, she was a watchmaker, or her parents were watchmakers. And her watch. So she had a little prop. So her prop was a little watch, like a pocket watch, but it was broken. And it started working again. Just started ticking and really being more like a heartbeat. So she's like, something is totally awry. Like something has been activated, and it's a kinship to her sister. Hence, gig in Iris's body, effectively, whenever that was close. So she made through the last time and saw through the fire and the flames the we'll call it, for the lack of reference. For lack of a better term, evil gig.
Yeah, that was the first time we just said I think it was just a woman in black armor.
It was it wasn't even a woman. It was just an entity. Like
that's all we know.
Gender unknown, because it was just the equivalent of black armor. Yeah, walking through the fire and the flame and walking up the flames as though it was a staircase to the study, which the study couldn't burn because it was made of stone. So all of the wood of the mansion was burning down as the party is huddled into the study, whereas the library, and then there's that statue of Targ that's in there. It's a very holy, sanctimonious place, the King's Peace, later discussed in Season 6. So everyone's in there, and they're being, attacked by... And I know Gyrus is like, hey, this is almost too easy. And Willis had the Heartstone. Like, his whole entire thing was he was trying to figure out how to fix the situation without having to do the war, the fight, just take care of it right there, which caused the explosion, which is why I was in the run. He gives the Heartstone to Io, opens up the hatch down the tower so they can escape. He is going to be the last one to go. And instead of going, he closes the hatch, and Gig and him face off like a blast, and then everything goes quiet. And that's the end of the very first session. Is that everyone's now together, stuck, going down this ladder from a tower, all pretty much persona non grata for one reason or the other, going down this this first dungeon, so to speak. And at that point, that's when Evil Gig, who's in Iris, has then merged with Willis, because he couldn't could not quite destroy him at the King's Peace. That was Season 1, Episode 1, getting the quote unquote getting the band together session.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite the intro. Hey guys, welcome to D&D.
Like, first session of D&D. Everything's burning, and here's this evil guy, and everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Hey, Panda. Yay, hearts.
My first thought was, when you said that, welcome to D&D, is the Jackass intro. Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to D&D. And do something.
Yeah, well,
remember that.
Just burn shit. Welcome.
Yep. Well, that was effectively Zell being like, I don't want to do what these bloodthirsty mercenaries covering up another murder want me to do. I'm gonna throw this on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys.
Yeah,
end well.
It didn't end well. Yeah, so that was the very first season, the very first session, and culminating all the session zeros leading up to that. Now you had a bunch of people. Some knew each other, some did not. Some factionalization there of figuring out what to do next. Mm-hmm. And the second session was fairly streamlined. It introduced a few new elements. It introduced your favorite person who can't catch a fucking break in the entire seasons, Talion.
Gosh. Oh, poor Talion.
So,
such a rough time. Poor Talion.
Yes. God. So.
Oh no! Oh, is that the session? Is this the session of IO shame? This is gonna be the session of IO shame.
Oh yeah, this is the entire session of IO shame.
Yeah, it's fair.
So the second session in the first season involved the season 1 group. So the season 1 group making their way down. I don't think they had a name at that point, because they definitely weren't the Fellowship. Now making their way down this ladder, not really talking, not quite cleaning a tavern, but making their way down.
Fuck you.
Making their way down so they can leave. Yeah. I was like, what is this place? Like, wait, I know what this is. This is how people that wanted to escape persecution would go underneath these tunnels, and it would lead them farther away from the city as a way of, not getting McFuckered by society. Because there was stratification, and the Targaryens were very courageous people willing to, help out their common man. They were known for courage. If at that point, if they were Hogwarts House, they were like the Gryffindors. They're very courageous. So I was aware that, hey, these tunnels were old, but they're used for getting people out. All they needed
And
to do they needed you.
Oh, yeah.
They needed Io.
Yeah, they need me.
They needed Io to leave because that way, so people that were following couldn't follow. You would need a Targaryen with you to get to exit the tunnel, or enter. Otherwise, it becomes a bit of a grave. So I was like, oh, great, gonna meet undead. Not quite. So if you get to the bottom of this, and there is a grave. There is, however, there is a grave. It's a makeshift grave, and it was the grave of Jarvis Green Jr. I think it was the 12th. So Senior was 13th. So Senior was the 12th, and Junior was 13th. So that many bloodlines of stewards of the Targaryen family.
They just keep naming Jarvis.
They name one Jarvis, and the one that's named Jarvis is the one that's going to, keep serving them, in perpetuity. But this little grave, and it was fresh, and that's where they met a revenant. That's where they met Talion. So both Talion and Jarvis Jr. were killed by Ty.
Yeah.
Jarvis was the first killed and just kind of like thrown down there, and Talion attempted to avenge his brother and failed. So he has a bone to pick with Ty. Ty is not a good guy. At this point, he is antagonist level. He is Jaime Lannister level, not good person. So, backstory wise, Talion and Io, they did know each other from growing up. Io, because she is a complete and utter selfish bitch, didn't really think much of him, but Talion thought the complete world of her, much like Littlefinger did. What's her face? Not Sansa.
Sansa. Or
Her mother.
Her mother. Oh.
Yeah. So effectively, Talion thought the world of Io, and Io barely remembered who Talion was. A sad state of affair that would continue for years to come.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine.
So he wasn't about to attack them. He wasn't about to attack her. But they were kind of standing over his brother's grave, and he wasn't in a very talkative mood. As a revenant, he has limited time to tell Death to fuck off, to go avenge his brother, which involves killing Io's brother. Io, at that point, I don't think was very against losing family, especially after Willis just died hours ago. So she wasn't really for this person being let free. And this goes to the whole entire episode of shaming Io.
Yep.
Because she makes some choices. The party continues down this long corridor. They have some opportunities to bond. I don't think they do. I think there's some light banter.
Almost zero bonding.
Almost zero bonding occurs in this confined area for multiple days. You run across your first actual battle you can fight with, as opposed to this is something that's going to happen. You can fight, but it's not going to truly affect the outcome. You can't really punch fire. You can. I'm sure Sin might try. But it was like the stalagmites. Is it mites might fall, the ceiling?
Yeah.
Yeah, so mites might fall. So it's the stalagmites, which are a creature, to figure out how strong or aware the group is with combat. So they'll DM tips, go easy to begin with before you completely murder everybody. And it's the things that fall from the ceiling that are basically big ass worms. So it's disgusting. And they drop down and they missed almost everybody, and then did the worm try to go back up. Dahlia was like Sin. She likes stabbing shit, so she's like, yes, something to punch. And she diced up the worms. There was, continued to the east, to the very end of it, was a little bit of reference to the Second Age, which did not truly get explored. Madaslak knew so much stuff. And I think around there, the coining of boobs and truth was around then, because Io was pretty and had boobs. And Madaslak was smart and made the question, why do dragons have boobs at all? Because they're lizards. And it's well, they're not lizards, but I guess I need to answer these sorts of questions now. There were 2 ink eggs. So ink eggs are very large centipede mantis-like creatures that burrow through the ground. They are very... As an iconic throwback to the 4th edition, a campaign I did where at the end there was this egg nest. And I think it was the first one that went and attacked, and the second one split off the party because it went and it grabbed Io. So the party is fighting an Ankeg, a pretty sizable beast monster for a level 3 party to go up against. And they just want to eat. You know, their whole entire idea is take food, eat it. One comes out of the wall because it burrows, and it grabs Io, who's a squishy little thing, and runs off with her. Talion tells the other Ankeg effectively to fuck off. Very brave, very, very, very revenant. Like, just takes a hit, gets like slammed across the whole entire area, keeps going, just goes after Io, and like is like, I'm gonna beat you if you not drop Io. And he does just proceed to beat this thing, of which it drops Io, attacks him, and if an Ankeg hits you enough, it just effectively grabs you, and it's these large, like, sand lion like mandibles, big ass things, and it's going to go eat you. So it does that to Talia instead, and Io, and all of her thoughtfulness is like, oh, it has Talion now. I'm going to go help my friends. And then she just turns around and goes to help the original group. She gets there about the time that first Ankeg is defeated. And then it's like, great, turns around, and it's like, yep, I took your bestie, I'm going to go eat him now. And it just scutters away. Session 2. Shaming the hell out of Io the entire damn session.
Yeah. Fine. It's fine. He just went to go save me, and I abandoned him because he was going to go kill my brother.
After
and he
her...
told me he could.
Yep.
I also knew he couldn't die. He couldn't die until he accomplished his goal. He was going to be fine.
Uh-huh.
He was good. It doesn't help the shame.
Nope.
There's a couple things I'm going to always feel guilty about. There's that one. And then there's the season 6.
The Dante?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a couple decisions.
I thought the end of season 1 kind of made you frustrated too, but it wasn't really your choice, rather the group's choice.
Oh yeah, that I was pissed off, but that's not gonna that is other people's choices. The other two are choices I specifically made and will haunt me for forever.
Yes. So that was season 1, session 2.
And then we made it out. I think at that point we got out of the cave.
Yeah, the session ended with you'll be able to get out of the cave at that point.
Yeah.
And this is all in person, so we were doing like rotating houses and stuff. It was tabletop. We had to do like side things. We pull people in different rooms and quickly resolve that, as opposed to scene 1, scene 2 stuff that we do when we stream. Were there any other developments? Yeah. I don't think there were any other developments that happened specifically when you're down in the tunnels.
I just remember the time where it's like I make this decision. You're like, we need to go into the other room now. Like, oh no.
Yeah, choices have been made.
Choices have been made. Oh no.
Yep. So the next session is when you're introduced to Clyde. So that was session 3. So where everything pulled you up was to the a store. Like a kitchen / storehouse within New Haven. So New Haven was like this reoccurring, traditionally there's like generic cozy town land with a tavern. So New Haven is your generic cozy town land with a tavern. That's effectively on the crossroads. You can see the map as you go towards Duodecim or start going north to New Haven. It's the last stop of civilization. But it also happens to be where you spill out at. Mm-hmm. And let's see, what were the major things from session 3? I think at this point Zealous was like not showing up as much, or was he cooking? I think he was cooking.
He was cooking, so like this is around the time, like either this session or the next session is when we lose Zell.
Yeah, and he kind of popped out of existence. Yeah. So Zell was like, oh yeah, because Zell threatened Jarvis. It was like the worst ever.
Oh right, we chased after. Oh yeah. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There. Now I remember. It's all coming back.
Yeah. It was. Don't worry. If you ever feel like I'm getting frustrated because you guys are scattered, every single season is scattered. There's no line. It's just a ham fisting like this pencil and like just drawing all over it when you had like too much to drink. It's just the standard D&D experience.
This was Barking Jarvis.
This was Barking Jarvis. So I do remember that at least in that season you met Clyde, who was investigating what was going on. Like he was trying to find out like what was going on, not specifically with Io. He was there investigating other begoings in the area, like the undead situation. And Clyde was an agent of Kellenvor, so they hunt undead. He was also a candle. He was working with Evelyn. So I think that's where you met. Like, it was the day of bees. Like, everyone's like, what's your name? And what's your name? And what's your name? It's like, you know what, guys? Yeah. Everyone's name begins the fucking B today. So there's Bradley. There's Bob.
Yeah, that was the day of bees. We had a lot of...
There's Brutus. Like, it's like, I want to know what that person right there, that the person that's carting the apples, yeah, what's his name? Billy.
We had to learn, like, the gravekeeper's name. We learned a whole bunch of people's names, and they all began with B.
They all began with B. So if there's ever a day, it's like, there's a lot of people whose names begin with B, and then later the joke was, here's a day of A's, because you're asking, like, everyone's name. Do that. You know, solid DM tip is to always come with a page of first and last name of fantasy names, and just strike them off. Just strike them off when you're done with using them. One-time pad. DM prep tips. Have a screen. Have a list of names, because they will ask. It was at this point where, like, hey, much like Wayfinders aren't being introduced to, okay, you guys are free. You guys have had some time to bond. You didn't, but, you know, if you want to go...
We had that time.
If you want to go your own way, like the song, you can. You'll write yourself out, so you'll have to now figure out new session 0. But if you wish to stay, like, figure out what exactly it is you would like to do as a group. At that point, they were getting information. I think the dwarf was a warden there, and that was Brad. I want to say that was Brad. And he kind of went over what's going on and mentioned that a candle was looking to have conversations with them. I can't remember if it was this session or future ones where, like, Dahlia just straight up pissed him off because he's paying her, like, a compliment. Like, oh, I've seen you fight. I've seen you fight in the arenas. Like, can I have, like, one of your ribbons? There are, like, orphans that would really like this. And she's like, fuck off, I don't like you. And it was like, what is your problem? I can imprison you.
You're being too nice. There's something wrong.
There's something wrong. I want niceties on my terms. And he's like, it's like, fine. Here's some fucking manacles. I think he branded her at that point. He's like, I'll just be able to find you later.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's like, all right, I'll take care of you later. It's like, isn't that an overreaction? I'm like, no, it's not.
But I think, well, because I can't remember when it happened, but I know Jarvis we heard that Jarvis was in the town, and that's like he rode on Maximus there, and we're like, we thought he died.
Yes. So it's the idea of, like, where is your horse? Like, because again, where is Maximus is like the where is Waldo of season 1.
I lose him like
at least 3 times. At least you lose him once in the very first session. You lose him again. Yep, Talton. Yeah. Well, that happens later. You lose him at least in this one because they're like, oh, have you seen my horse? Like, yes, he was brought here by your steward. And it's like, your steward? It's like, and you're at this point, like, Jarvis Jr.'s dead, Talion's dead, and a Revenant.
Yeah.
So, who? It's like, old man Jarvis. I'm like, what? And it's like, everyone's like, this ain't right. Something's not right here. We saw him get stabbed. Pretty, and then probably burned. So something ain't right. So everyone went to go say, okay, there are other things going on. There are bandits. There are blights, which, by the way, no one has addressed that in so many years that's why Shirley's thing is such a big-ass thing. And that's also why Leaf's thing was such a big-ass thing. Yeah!
Oh.
Like, it's coming back to that plot, only it's hitting a head. Like,
no one looked at this. I gave you hints, but we had other things.
I know. Justice will be served. Don't worry about it. It's just going to be organic justice. Regardless. There were other things to look into. It's like, you know what we're going to look into first? What's up with old man Jarvis? So, before there was a graveyard situation. Like, hey, there's something going on with the graveyard. The graveyard keeper wants you to look into it. Very almost generic D&D tropes. Graveyard, bandits, blights. Oh, that's kind of more involved. And then there's Old Man Jarvis. So everyone's like, you know what? We're Old Man Jarvis. Let's look into that. Clyde, it's been nice talking to you, and you might like turn us into the things, but you're not right now, so that's nice. We'll talk to you later. At which Clyde's like, I've got my eye on you. We don't care. Have an apple. How about I don't? No one wants to be nice to Clyde. I don't think anyone gets along with Clyde at all in season 1. Now I think about it.
I was like, she wasn't. She hid stuff, but she didn't like. She understood that he was a candle, so she wasn't like aggressive or anything.
Yeah, and it was explained that candles are basically, think of the investigative branch. You think of like the
Yeah, so
FBI, CIA together. Those are they're spy masters. Those are the people that you want on your side, like Littlefinger.
Yeah, so she understood the weight of him. But Dahlia did not, and Dahlia was very abrasive.
Yeah, Modestlak was like, here is, a Crystallis law. And it's like, no, that is not Crystallis law. Crystallis law is I could just stab you in the throat and take you back.
Yeah.
It's like, well, there's 5 of us and there's 1 of you. It's like, you make a good point. I can't really attack you now if that was the case, but it's a good thing I'm an assassin, regardless. Where was I? Barking Jarvis. So this is where Jarvis got his name, Barking Jarvis, because in there they start interrogating him, and this is where. Yes.
I would like to point out that Io was nowhere near this portion.
Nowhere. Nowhere at all.
Nowhere
so
near.
I think like Zell is the first, like, you know what? I want to investigate Old Man Jarvis. Everyone else, I'm going to go serve him some food because evidently I can cook. Goes up. He's like, I got some questions for you, old man. Old man's like, what? Why do you hate me so much? He starts like shaking him, like tying him up. Just greets him by yeah, it's like,
yeah.
We got some questions for you, old man. I'm like, why are you doing this? I've had a very rough time. I was gravely injured. I need rest. It's too tight on my wounds. Just completely manhandling this old man. I just like the wrath of Herbert. It's just bad. So, of course, they're right. There's definitely something up with the old man who was stabbed in the very first session. And he gets angry and I think at that point barks.
And jumps out the window.
He's like, I'm gonna get out. Something like a jump. Did he bark? Yeah, he barked. Barking Jarvis. So then he just like runs towards the gate, not the gate, the door, that iconic door into the woods towards that area. Right.
Yeah.
Just runs out. First chase scene. First failed chase scene. Lots of
real bad. We were real bad at that chase scene.
Real bad. Like people fall. Lots of ones were rolled. Like the idea of climbing and running just is not strong across all of Aurora.
No.
Like every time, like you want to climb something, I'm like, is it climbing movement or difficult now? I'm like, I don't know if I want you to roll. But chase scenes are a little different. Chase scenes is later on that season what happened to Sebastian, which is fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
So at this point, while they're chasing Jarvis, there are a few mechanics. What are you doing, Jarvis? Speaking of Jarvis, hey!
You just keep saying his name. He gets real excited.
He does. There were a few things that we had in season 1 that we don't have now. We do something different every season. So to make things interesting, the players have some say in things like advancement, experience, like plus. And that's the MVP system. We still kept that in different things moving forward. We thought was a really good way of saying, hey, we all contribute together. Who do you felt brought to the most experience, like positive vibes this session? And DM stays out of it, player's choice. They typically got more experience out of this. The same thing was true. It's like, well, who do you felt didn't get their time to shine? Like, if the second session was all about shaming Io, what about Zell? What about Modestlak? Like, do you felt like they were really left to the side with the current plot threads? And that was the underdog. And the underdog got to make campaign wishes. Like, hey, I would like to see this, or how about we explore XYZ? Can you put some content in about such and such? We started phasing that out in future seasons because we found out that most people didn't have something prepared. Like even with campaign wishes, like no one had anything prepared. So it's like I could ask, but it seems like it's too much to ask the players to do. So we ended up phasing that in later seasons. But in season 1 it did. And that's how Farron got his bird. I don't remember which session he did, but he ended up getting Sebastian the hawk because he asked, like, you know what I'd like? I'd like a hawk. It's like,
yeah, I think it was later. I want to say like mid-season that he got Sebastian.
He got Sebastian. Majestic ass bird. But at this point, running, and everyone goes and gets to chases after them and gets to the gate. And there was Gnoll, so Jarvis really became a Gnoll. And there was these ruins outside of it, which is the same place that like Albert et crew, same map. That's why it was like a big thing. It's like it's the same map that they met in season 1.
Yeah.
Where they fought Gnolls, like their second like really big battle, the party versus Gnolls, and they won. And they chased Jarvis up inside and around the gate area, which had a side place, which is, I'll say for season 9, really important to remember this topography I'm about to say. So there's ruins outside of the gate. As you approach the gates to either side, there were like staircases that go around it as opposed to in the door. And one took it out to a ritual area with things on the ground overlooking a lake. And everyone saw that like someone was on there hanging out, watching this fight. So they fight and they go, and Barking Jarvis rushes his way up, and the party rushes their way in. And then this is where that little ritual area, and someone asks for Io's blood. Mm-hmm. Like I believe it's the first time that the party interacts with Albert.
Yep.
Yes. So Albert von Wolfengeist, the primary antagonist for the Crystal Hearts plotline, is there on this little area and is asking Iolanthe for some of her blood. And it's like, if you give, it's like, we don't have to fight. I'll need your blood. And I can take it by force, or you can give it to me. It's like, it's a lot better if you just give it to me. And I was like, not convincing. You're a bad guy. My answer is no.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what you want to do with my blood, but if you're asking for it, that feels like not good.
The blood magic. At that point, like, he disappears, and that little area becomes like a dark dome. People get sucked into it, like, and enthralled into it. Dahlia dances with Iris. Like,
yeah, like, she gets, like, enchanted into the circle because she sees her little sister.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. This is where you first find out what Zell's potion does in a what the fuck moment, because they're effectively trapped. When they say no, they could go into this dark circle, which is the cliff area. You know, they could dive off, which one would assume would kill them. They're pretty high up. They could try to go back the way they came, but it is blocked by gnolls. So they're like, well, we're going to have to fight our way through. Because, Dolly needs to snap out of it and stop dancing. They grabbed her out, and she's like, but I was so happy. I was dancing with my little sister. They go in. They fight against all these gnolls. They are getting fucked up because on one end of it is Jarvis, who is now in full Gnoll mode, and you met him at the end of season 6 as, I think it was the Lord of, what did I call him? Not Corruption.
Yeah,
I think it was Lord of Corruption. Yeah, Lord of Corruption. So one of the first lords or champions against Io's team when no champions, just hi. So they fight. They're getting their ass kicked. Hard. TPK land. Ooh. Yeah, I was like, people aren't making out of this very well. That's where, like, you know what? Fuck it. Hail Mary. Zell's potion. What does your potion do? What do you guys have at your disposal? And I was like, I breathe ice. Moslike's like, it's like, I know. Moslike's like, I know things. Zell's like, Zell, don't you have a potion? Like, he literally has the prop, like, in front of him. And he's like, yeah. And it's like, okay. It's like, oh, I throw it on the ground. I think it was like I either open it or I throw it on the ground, something silly. And
he threw it on the ground.
No, I think he drank it.
Oh, he did drink it.
He drank it, yeah. So he drank the potion, and he exploded. Like he legitimately like went like full on like the nuclear person in Heroes. Is like, I drink it and kaboom. He hasn't like become chunky salsa. He's okay, but like he's like badoosh. Like an explosion radiates from him, not from like within inside of him. He's still whole at the end of it, albeit I think unconscious. It gets them the break in the force that they need to cut their way through. Jarvis at this point is also knocked unconscious as everyone rushes through and realizes that there is a swarm of gnolls still there because they are like cockroaches. They're like orcs and goblins. They're the races that you have lots of them to deal with. But Talion's there. This is the second time that the party's like, fuck you, Talion.
Oh. Well, not so. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh,
yep.
yeah.
So not only they're like, hey, Talion's fighting all these gnolls. What should we do? Leave him. On top of that, Farron goes back, and keep in mind, Talion's father is Jarvis Sr., who's now a gnoll. Effectively, think like werewolf cursed gnoll. Farron goes back and slits the throat of his father, and then's like, time to go back. Done my job. I hate demons. You look like
Farron's very murdery. He does a lot of murder this season.
He is a demon hunter. Like his whole entire trope is like, if Sin and Farron would not be able to be in a party together, one of them would have to kill the other. His whole entire thing is I kill infernals.
Nice.
So he's like, oh, gnolls, they have their basis from demons, so I gotta go kill this guy. He's like a high ranking. He's worth a lot of points. Let me just slit that throat and cash in. So he does, kills Bark and Jarvis, quote, quote, kills. They leave Talion to go fight the other gnolls, and they depart.
I thought Talion came back with us.
He does.
Did he not?
Yeah, because he's like, again, you guys keep on like leaving him in the lurch, and he keeps on just making it out alive. Or at least comes back, reconstitutes at the start of the day, and is like, yeah, so I died yesterday, thanks. It's painful every time, I might add. Everyone regroups back at the tavern, and it's like, well, that happened. Then Talion comes back and is like, okay, you killed my father.
We didn't know that. To my knowledge, I don't think Farron told us.
Yeah. So he didn't know. He thought that his father was killed in combat. So he was like, yeah, he fought and he lost. I'm not pleased about this. Not knowing that he could have just lived. But, Talion, much like Farron, is a ranger, knows the difference between like combat death and a slit throat. So, regardless. I think there was like an arm wrestling match at the tavern. And
people got drunk.
And like, let's do an arm wrestling match. And like, Talion wins. It's like, that's not fair. I'm like, he's a revenant. You can't get him drunk, and he's got unholy strength. What do you want? Anyhow, I think that's when Radagast showed up as well. So another character that hasn't showed up in I think forever. But Farron's friend from the woods was a druid named Radagast. And he was a big-ass drunkard druid, so he wasn't very helpful because he just drinks. But he, like, talked about things. He was like, yeah, blights are bad. Pass the ale, please. And that's how that session ended with returning to the tavern. I'm going to take a breath for air.
I mean, I guess you can breathe.
How dare you?
Yeah. So that's Fireside. That's sessions 1, 2, and 3 of the first season.
Yeah.
The next season is, I want to say, when we lose Zell.
Yeah, the next session. I think, around there is where we're just like, and he was cooking, and then he bloop.
Yeah, like, he was with you, and then suddenly he, like, literally, like, popped out of existence. Like, he was walking, and then his chainmail is just on the ground. Like, he's just not there anymore.
Oh, no.
Like, very, very jarringly, this happened.
Yeah.
But then Dahlia had his potion. Like, I can't remember how she got his potion.
She just took it, and the chainmail.
Yeah.
And the connection was he drank Zell's potion. He drank the key of Gigareth, and he went elsewhere.
And the potion refilled itself.
The potion refills itself. So it was a side effect of some potion drinking. So people, understandably, at that point, stopped drinking potions, or at least that potion.
Yeah, we stopped drinking random potions we didn't know.
Yeah.
What?
And that started an aversion to potion drinking across all of Aurora Adventures. No one wanted to buy potions. No one wants to drink potions. It's a concerned effort to remember to acquire potions.
We couldn't even get potions through
Yeah.
the portal pool.
Oh, God.
Oh, that was great.
So the next one starts with more introductions to everyone's favorite non-player character, Gig, and starts. Yep. Well, that's okay. The way he's greeted is pretty comical. They start, because Farron shoots him in the face.
Oh, right. We're going to the graveyard.
Yeah, the next one is the graveyard. So.
Oh God, I remember.
Yeah. And there's this completionist thing where you had to go back to the graveyard and you blow ice in the ghoul's face. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
There's a fair in completion. He's like, we didn't go into that one room. There's in that one room just a thing that wanted to kill us, and that's it. It's just nothing.
But that is future sessions.
It's future sessions.
Future sessions. This session, it's like we've got a lot of things we can do. And I think it's where Moslok is like, there is this cosmic issue, which is, the crystal hearts, like the good, the dragons versus the devils, and infernals aren't good. And, with the idea of the portal that Willis kind of half created, people like them even less. And yeah, let's not deal with the cosmic thing. I think at level 3 and 4, we can't deal with that level of problems. There was a little meta. But Mads is like, well, let's try something a little bit more tangible. Let's try a graveyard. What's wrong with this graveyard? And the graveyard situation had to do with the governor or previous governor of New Haven, and I want to say his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had something to do with the dead. They are coming back up out of their graves, and they put them back down, but they're keeping coming back, so it's an attrition issue, and they haven't been able to fix the main issue. Now, no one is a rogue. No one has proficiency in thieves' tools. So, no one has really encountered traps. You know what? There's going to be traps and puzzles. So we've introduced you to lore. We've introduced you to combat, plot lines, ties into your characters. The fact that half your decisions are going to be either bad by bad rolls or bad by bad choices. Welcome to D&D. You're in full swing now. You're going to go to this graveyard. Go to the graveyard. The gravekeeper is like, okay, here's the graveyard. Have fun. I don't think you fight undead as you go to the graveyard because you went during the day. But there are side crypts, and there's the graveyard proper.
Yep.
I believe you guys do the graveyard proper first.
Yeah, we go there a couple.
You go back you go there at least 2 or 3 times. It's the reoccurring location. So I think during the first time, you go there and you find out that you can't do a fucking thing. You check the graves. You're like, I'm not learning anything from these gravestones. You go to the mausoleums. And it's like, well, let's go to these mausoleums. There's some hints. This one's locked. I want to get into this one. No one can unlock the fucking lock. No one can force open the fucking door. So, great, I have a feeling that I need to get in here. How do we get in here? No one's got the knock spell. There's no utility to open up a lock. Classic D&D locks. Defeated by a lock. So, they're like, you know what we'll do? We'll go get the key. It's I'm sure that the gravekeeper has a key to maintain the grounds. Why he didn't give it to me, I don't know. Yeah, he didn't ask. I guess he kind of figured that, why would you go in there? So, okay, well, we'll go back and we'll ask the gravekeeper about the key. Then it's well, there's these side mausoleums that aren't in the graveyard. Let's go check those out. Mm-hmm. But the party then goes into the Deathlands. Starting Deathlands. Yeah. They find the the crypts. They go into the crypts. They realize they shouldn't be anywhere near the crypts because that is a hidden location. It's not so much a crypt where they put things, but rather someone is doing some shady shit. They meet your token, quote-unquote, necromancer. First...
Oh, yeah, we found, like, body parts.
You find body parts. You fight ghouls. So you go in there, and it's like, okay, ghouls are bad. Modstock's great. It's okay, I'm a cleric. Turn undead. You guys fight ghouls. You guys do a really good job against the ghouls, I might add. Like, you know, as far as a party goes, they're like, ghouls, whatever. Trash mobs. I got this. Until they get cocky, and there's a north wing and a south wing. They go to the south wing entrance to enter the final chamber, where all these body parts have been missing, for lack of a better term. They're like, well, the ghouls must have been eating them. It's like, oh, no, you piece together that the ghouls appear to be eating leftovers. They go in, they get hit by, like, a lightning bolt. I think that, like, knocks out half the party, almost instantaneously. Yeah. And, like, well, we can try to fight this wizard with half of our force, or we can make a tactical retreat. Tactical retreat it is. So the party leaves, goes back to New Haven to, you know, refresh their ideas of what have they accomplished? Like, nothing. Like, we are the worst adventurers ever.
We went into a room.
Yes. So the one thing that was checked prior to is that the necromancer was absolutely stitching together something Frankenstein-esque. And they did not stop him. Mm-mm. So, in true Arkham Horror fashion, when you fail to stop the bad ceremonies, you deal with the bad ceremony consequences later. And at that night, the New Haven is attacked by
Was it that night? I thought that...
Yeah.
I thought we handled the undead situation, and then the guy comes back with the golem later. I thought there was like one more session in between.
Okay.
So like we go back and then we deal with Gig, and then we're like, oh, we're fine. But the guy, we never actually dealt with the necromancer. We dealt with like the undead problem. And the necromancer's like, oh hey, but what about this bone golem though? And then the bone golem just like, or the flesh golem just like burns down the town.
Yeah, maybe that was a session afterwards. So again, you guys go do the graveyard things over across a few sessions. So either the attack happens that session or it happens the next session. So I'll pivot away from that for a minute and just come back. It was 3 years ago.
It was a while ago. I don't remember.
So at the very least, you go back to the graveyard with a key. One more time.
One more time.
This
time we can get in.
This time you can get in. So you guys go in, you unlock it, and you realize that there is a cursed, quote-unquote cursed item on the mayor's body in his coffin that is pulling in all of this like energy. At this point, it has been consumed. Now that lore has continued, the way that Gig, takes resources and then crafts with them, he was pulling energy from that area, and he had succeeded.
Oh,
right. So he crafted an object to do it, and then it collected things. He's not a breaker, so he's got certain limitations. I mean, the hint there is his scythe. So he has to craft an object to do it. The object does it. He's collected. And it was a very rather recent turn of affairs as like, well, it should have the purple liquid in it, but it does not. And I forget how you guys knew it was purple. But, yeah. You guys saw it at one state, came back later and realized that it was drained. I don't remember when exactly it happens. Again, you guys go back there several times.
Yeah.
At that point...
Because we didn't want to touch it. I think we found out that...
Yeah. So you opened it, right. You opened it, saw it, didn't want to... Again, huge potion aversion. Like, no, don't want to touch it, don't want to drink it, don't want nothing to do with no potions. So you're like, oh, this is the problem. I guess then you leave and then come back.
Yeah, we wanted to do research and figure out what it was, and Modestlock had to, look into books and...
Goes back. The graveyard wasn't, so terribly far away. So, go back... Do research. You find out that it's a type of energy like necrotic, like nethicite-esque. It's purple, so it's like nethicite type energy. It's like it's negative energy. It's necrotic. It's nethicite. It's not good stuff. But if you take care of it, and there was 3 options of how you do it. It's like if
we
you take...
we picked the ritual. Like we had to do a ritual to get rid of it. So we had to get all the stuff together to get the ritual done.
Right. It's like, cool, we'll address it by ritual. That seems the safest way to go. You get the ingredients to the ritual, which involves like going through town and buying random shit, finding things out in the woods. You get all your stuff together, you go back, then you find out, oh, someone has collected on the stuff. Then you guys turn around in true cinematic fashion. There's Gig, but not the Gig you know. It's just it's the same person in dark armor. So Chick Gig. So it's lady in dark armor who's like standing there, and in the ominous case, instead of like here's my interesting monologue or anything, it's like nope. Farron's like I shoot it in the face. It's like, so he crits, like he legitimately like, okay, go roll to hit. This will be interesting. Rolls a 20, crit, so like arrow right in the face, and the arrow goes into the helmet. So and it, Lady Gig just turns around and doesn't have much to say, and just creates the bone golem. So I have the mini for that, and that's that picture I showed. That was the very first like BBEG that was fought. Yep. The bone golem. So the interesting thing about the bone golem is that it was also half puzzle because there were 4 tombstones in the graveyard that were truly feeding it its power.
Oh, nice.
So it was anchored that way, and the Ice Smasheroo was fighting it while everyone else was trying to figure out how to address these anchors, finding the right tombstones and destroying them. In that fight, they almost lost Demon's Bane because like he stabbed it and then couldn't get it out of the tombstone.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wow, there's only a handful of things that can cause like deep damage to Gig, and you almost lost it. Boom. After the large epic battle with the BBEG, the bone golem, that it's destroyed, and everyone's like, okay, the fuck. Everyone goes back to the tavern again. Then
I think that's when Io had to yell at Farron about attacking before talking.
Yes. Yeah, there
she
was
had that talk with him a lot.
Yeah.
That was a strong.
And then
that discussion a lot.
Yeah, and I do recall like Dolly was always siding with Farron. Like, no, that was the right thing to do. You always punch first. Punch first, think never, Ash. Then I think that's when the wizard and the golem attacked.
Yeah.
So then
after that, we're like, okay, we dealt with that problem.
Yep. The wizard attacked with a flesh golem, which is what he was creating. They put him down.
He burned like half the city.
Burned half the city in the process. So like New Haven was in ashes.
Nice.
They'd since rebuilt. It's looking much better now. Paolo spent quite a bit of time reinforcing New Haven. I think for like an entire season or 2.
Yeah.
Let's see. At that point, like Clyde started investigating a little bit more with Evelyn, because the person you guys said, okay, who is this person and why do they matter? Because they had artifacts on them. The wizard did, and it related back to Crystallis and the crows. And that's when the crows and like who they were and how they were researchers. They did some shady shit, and that's when Olivia and like Delacroix showed up with her.
Well, because we went to a house. That was a house in the woods.
Right.
That was a little bit later.
So you did the research first. To do the research, you started like figuring out and went back to. That's when the completionist thing happened. Like, I want to go back and finish with the rest of this crypt. Oh, so between the information that was on the dead wizard and what was in the crypt is how you pieced out to go to the crazy house, the haunted house.
Yeah.
That's also when the party went to say, hey, we went to the south wing and got blasted by a wizard. The wizard is gone now. Let's go to the north wing because we haven't explored the entire crypt and it's going to bother me. So I think that was Connor.
It's going to bother Connor. It's going to bother Connor.
And that is when, Io got...
rage murdered.
You rage murdered a ghoul. So... One thing that we did in season 1 is that inspiration. It's like, if you can tell me what you're doing and make it cool, it's just going to work. It's not so much use inspiration for advantage. It's the rule of cool. If you can articulate it well, that's what will happen. You burn inspiration.
Yep.
To do it. Since then, it's become more of a you see both of the dice, but the rule of cool is it's really the lubricant for that. So for Io, who had inspiration, is like I'm gonna die because I'm paralyzed, and I'm fighting this ghoul, and the ghoul's on top of me. Yeah, it's like so you used yours to effectively roll on top of it, and then like use your claws to, like dig in and just breathe like breath like a flamethrower on its face until it just like broke.
Froze to death.
Yeah, so you rage murdered it with a breath weapon.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was pretty epic, and it was a lot of the inspiration and thrown back of how like Ty went out with the abyss fight. Yeah, and also it also showed up again during the snowball fight when they were at the camp. So like that was a very reoccurring thing that the Targaryen's breath weapon is rage oriented. Then you investigated the wizard and realized he was one of 6 people. That and what his motivations was he was trying to research and fix a problem because one of the 6 people, a young girl, died. And yes, and I believe that was Olivia, because I think it's Wilma de la Croix, and Olivia was a little girl. So Olivia was one of the 6, and she perished in the house. He didn't take it well. I forgot what his name was. I'd have to look at notes. He's dead. The other 4 were rather well-adjusted people in Crystallis. Like one was they weren't like necromancers. I think one was a golemmancer. And you guys interrogated them. We went back to Crystallis to interrogate them. At this point, I'm trying to remember where the fuck Talion is, because at one point he steals your horse.
He steals my horse when we're in the woods, when we're going to the house.
Okay. So
don't worry.
Talion fucks off for quite some time. It's like, well, if you're not going to go hunt Ty or go back to do such, I'll figure it out. So when you guys go back, he finds you during camp as you go back to Crystallis and investigate the house and this lead for why is the necromancer necromancing. To the De La Croix house, which is a crow house of experiments and bad stuff. Talion shows up.
And mannequins.
And we'll get to that. Yeah, mannequins. Okay. Talion shows up, undetected. He's like, I'm going to steal Maximus. Dahlia jumps on. That's the thing that I remember the most. Is like, Dahlia jumps on, like, I'm going to get this horse back. And Talion's like, Maximus, we're going in town. I got to go kill Ty. He's like, and she fails. Like, I'm gonna wrestle out, Reigns from the Revenant. I'm like, well, you realize from the bar wrestling match that you're not stronger than him. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna try anyway. I'm like, D&D, go ahead. You fail. It's like, well, I guess I'm just on this horse now. So she rides into town with Talion. I believe before you go to the house, you meet up with Ty. Yeah, because you're in only in Crystallis that one time.
Yeah, it is only that one time. So I do see Ty, and I see my sister.
Yes, who's a complete and utter case.
Yeah.
She's like,
oh right, and then they go into prison. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a whole thing.
God.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I throws a temper tantrum. It's fine.
Yeah, I think that's the same because you're investigating before you go to the house. So you try to talk to like the crows that were involved in the necromancer's group of 6. That's where you find out about Olivia. What?
I think ultimately we were going to the house, but then Talion took my horse and took Maximus to Crystallis. I'm like, well, shit, that's all my stuff.
Right.
So then we went to Crystallis first because
you weren't planning on it.
I lost my horse again.
And you guys figured, well, while you're here,
yeah, like let's figure this out.
Let's interrogate some people and be a little informed.
Everyone gets imprisoned, except Io. It's fine.
I can't remember why you go.
Because Dahlia has this thing where she's really abrasive, and we were going.
Doesn't she hide in a bush?
She tries to hide in a bush, but she doesn't do it well, so she gets caught. And then Io's like going up to her house like, oh, everything's fine. And then Ty's like, no, throw him in prison. So he throws them in prison and puts Io into, essentially sends her to her room.
Oh, I remember that. That was fun. So I forget how everyone ends up there in prison, but I remember at least Dahlia wanted to get to Targaryen Manor for something, like the one in Upper Crystallis, the one that lives above Lower Crystallis, like by altitude. Mm-hmm. And to do so, she hides in a bush. She fails. Like, the guards are like, what are you doing? And then she's like, hi, I'm Dahlia. And they're like, you're trespassing. Then she's like, I'll punch my way through this problem. Like, bad idea. So she gets arrested.
Well, I thought Ty just threw everyone in prison.
He does. He's
like, what the fuck are they? Like, go
I forget how everyone else ends up there. But I do remember that, like, everyone gets thrown into prison. And then that's where they meet Talion again. And he has, like, 20 arrows in him. Because he attempted to attack Ty. And, you know, everyone in his own home, and everyone just shot him with crossbow bolts before he even got to Ty. So he's in there, still alive, because he can't really die. And he's sad, because he can't fucking kill Ty. He's right there. That's when Io is, like, grabbed, like, by her hair and thrown in her room for her timeout. Or no, she's thrown into...
her room.
Is she? Yeah. So she's literally grabbed by her hair, thrown in her room for a timeout, and that's when she rages out, like legitimately rages the fuck out, blows off the door, and both the guards are like, "This is above my pay grade. We're just gonna let her walk out." It's like, technically this is her house, and I know what Ty said, but she just blew a door off, so I'm gonna just stand here. And she makes her way down, and the prison party gets so close to like stealing the key from the prison guard, and God, I remember there being like a backflip involved in this.
Yeah, because I think you rolled like a 20 for the guard on protecting the key, so he like did like a beautiful pirouette. Or something.
And everyone was like, "Oh, just claps!" Like that was. He's been practicing that the entire time. It was his time to shine. He's let it go. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful landing. So I was like, you know, I didn't get the key, but that was kind of impressive. Like it was very good performance. And I believe Ty lets them out. Someone lets them out. I think Io lets them out. Yeah, I was like,
Rage gets them out. I was just like, get them the heck out of there.
Yeah, so I was like, it's my house, and it's my prison, and these are my prisoners, so you're going to let them all go. So they do, and then they leave before things get any worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then
we find out more things about what Ty's doing. It's fine.
Do you find out that session what Ty's doing?
Either that session or the next session, yeah, because that's when we do the arena fight.
Oh, yeah.
Arena fight.
Yeah, I think it is exactly that before you leave Crystallis. So you say in Crystallis, you're like, fuck this house for a bit. You guys go all over the place in Season 1. Like, there's no real rhyme or reason to what you're trying to accomplish. It's just what do you want to do. So I think that when you leave, while in Crystallis, in one of the sessions, Dahlia's like, you know what I want to do? I'm an arena fighter. I want to fight in an arena. Legitimately, that's what happens.
Oh, wait, or is that, is that later? Shoot.
Is it later?
I think it's later, because I know Dahlia wanted to get information. The only way she could get information, she needed, like, money, because she was trying to take down Goldstein. So I think that might have been later.
Because in Season 1, you do because in Season 1, you still have the Apollo Balacala to do.
Well,
you do the arena fight.
Yeah, because I think Prungi was the one that tried to help the horse, so it had to have been the second season or later, right? Who tried to tell the horse to be its own horse and it got killed?
So that,
or was that Io's speech?
That was Io's speech. Io killed a horse.
Oh my god.
Okay, not on purpose. So yeah, that was.
I mean, you saw that whole entire thing again in Season 6 when you were doing Naz's trial. That's what that was.
Yeah, so I think that happened around that time. Like, we were finding out that Ty was going into the arenas to like blow off steam and essentially just kill people. Like he would just go in there.
I think Dahlia was like butthurt that like she got thrown in prison by Ty and just wanted to like knock him down a peg. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and so she wanted to like face off against him.
Yeah, you really wanted to face off against him. So she signed up and no one backed her play. So she went in there by herself with a bunch of scrubs. So it was Dahlia and scrubs versus Ty. I don't think Ty even had scrubs with him. I think it was just Ty on a horse.
Yeah.
It was Ty on a horse versus scrubs. So and Dahlia, who's not a scrub. So I was like, well, it's we'll play this out. It's like, but this is not looking good for you, Dahlia. And again, you can write yourself out, and you're pretty close. So what is everyone else doing? So Io had like box seats, so she's up in the stands. At this point, you do have Sebastian, because Sebastian's big power play is to go give her a potion. Parents like, I got this idea, Sebastian. Wah! It's like, go deliver this potion, and he just takes the potion and flies off. Just not to Dahlia, just flies off. And then it's like,
Sebastian's his own bird.
And it's like, that's what the phrase, look, Sebastian's his own bird. You just gave him something and he just went off with it.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like, Farron found a bird, and he's like, this is my pet now, but, like, didn't train him at all, so the bird's just like, I take this.
Yep.
Thank you. And just leaves.
Oh no.
Yep. So Io burns some inspiration and uses that to, like, get the crowd together against Ty, which is, again, the big, like, inciting thing, which had a lot of more downstream impacts based off of the way Ty's storyline was.
Yeah.
So basically, Ty's sister Io rallied everyone in the crowd after Ty beat Dahlia, and it was like, well, is this I kill them or do I not kill them? Them in this case being Dahlia. So it's like, well, I gotta find a way to have Dahlia not die, so I'm gonna rally everyone in this crowd against Ty.
Oh my gosh.
So it succeeds, and Ty has rage issues. So instead of killing Dahlia, he beats a horse to death with bare hands. But Dahlia lives, and that kind of segues Ty's descent into his new life as what Ty did until season 6. I don't think you do anything more in Crystallis except for find out that you need, like, Goldstein wants the Apollo Ball Collar. I think that flower and the whole entire idea behind getting it is part of the reason why Dahlia went to do the arena fights for the money.
Yeah, because she's like, well, I'm here, I need to pay off Goldstein, so she's trying to get more money to pay him off.
Right. And
she went to go do it, and he's like, oh, you don't have to give me the money. What you can do.
Yeah, because you
lost.
Get
this flower instead, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well, you lost. You're not any closer to paying off your debts, because her big thing was, like, she was deeply in debt to Goldstein from, like, day one. Like, the reason why she's doing all this is to really pay off her debt to Goldstein. And Goldstein's, like, this really bad slumlord. Like, his whole entire idea of having power in Crystallis is getting everyone in debt and making them in service to. So the idea, like, how much you don't like Jacob, Goldstein is very similar, like, not good person.
Gotcha.
So instead, he's like, okay, well, we can go get this flower. Fine. It's a very powerful reagent. It's used in things like resurrection. So sure, it makes sense why you want that. Now we have a few things to do. At this point, instead of doing any of that, it's like, you know what we should do? What should we do? Let's go ahead and check out the Crow House. That's where you meet Clyde again. So it's like the house of haunting things and experiments. So you go in there, and they're just
like on the way or something.
Yeah, it was on the way. It was on the way back. It was on the way to go to the flower. Right. It's like, you know what? Let's check this out first. It's on the way. You go to the house, close that down. And it's like this empty house. There's potions. Again, you guys hate potions so much. You punch through one of them, like 2 of them, I think, like, because it's blocked.
Okay.
They're like, I punched them. I'm like, well, you opened up the You opened up the shelf, but behind it was, glass potions. So the two that you put your fist through, you don't get those.
But we got the others.
You got the others. There was a cloak, I think, of many things, and people were constantly getting and
I think so we got a ladder and a door.
A ladder, off because they're patches off of the cloak of many things.
Yeah.
And you go to the basement, and there's mannequins everywhere, and the idea is that people think Dahlia is hallucinating, like she is looking in this area where it's like a tavern, but it's empty. And she turns around, there's mannequins everywhere sitting at the tavern like they're drinking. And she looks around, they're gone. And then they're back to drinking. She's like, this place is freaking me out. And then the worst ever happens is I think she goes in like the back room, like a mannequin like hits her in the face, and it's Clyde like mannequinning the mannequin with the strings from above. And they're investigating with Evelyn, and it's like, "Hi, Dahlia," because the thing from earlier with Dahlia and Clyde. So he did not pass up a chance to prank her. And
I think at one point a mannequin gets stuck to her, and that causes permanent trauma.
Yes, one does get. That's I think when you get the cloak of many things, like one falls on her, and it has an adhesive, so it's like stuck to her. And with all of the mannequin trauma, one being stuck to her just freaks her the fuck out, and she runs out of the house screaming and just sits in a ball up against a tree and keeps hearing her sister. I'm like, it's okay, you're not real. But it actually was her sister, because Iris Gig was there talking to her.
Oh my god. The horrible person.
Horrible.
Horrible.
And they gave her of all the things, of course, a potion. Which I don't know if anyone consumed. Again, there's this huge aversion to potions that was like a theme in season 1.
Well, the one guy blew out of existence and exploded. What do you expect us to do?
Yeah,
be very paranoid to the potions, and it was great. So Clyde continued to investigate the weirdness of the house with Evelyn. You introduced to Evelyn, who was more like the very straight-laced Candle. And they found out that Olivia was there. I think they met Olivia because she was like a ghost.
Yeah.
She was stuck between like worlds, so she was there, stuck to the house. And the necromancer's story was that he was trying to get her one way or the other, either push through so she can properly die, or back into this world like undead. But he died, so he didn't get accomplished either. They had to just like leave the girl there. So she was left in the haunted house.
We didn't know what to do. We couldn't do.
And it's like, well, that sucks, but that's not our problem. We figured out what's going on in this house. Season 1 was not about accomplishing things. It's just experiencing things.
Yeah. Oh my god.
I paid money for this cruise ship. I'm gonna do all the activities.
I'm gonna do it all. So at that point, I'm fairly certain you guys go to so an actual dungeon, which is fantastic. It's like,
this was a cool session. I remember.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, you guys now go to and start exploring the elves a bit more. It's like, well, here's Farron's tribe. Here is a wolf tribe. Again, very animist. And they have a ritual that's done in a full moon. And they're not the only people trying to get this flower, because it only blooms during a full moon. So they go in and they descend down, and there is a almost cult-like or religious-like, probably a better way of saying it, ritual, where if you are already initiated, you can just go in through the top, because it's this big like cenote-style hole, and the moonlight shines down into it. So you can just walk down like a moonlight staircase if you're initiated or are part of the tribe. If you're not, the back door is the same as the trial that gets you initiated.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting baptized by the temple. The temple has the things that they wish you to do. And they go down. And I want to say that's when they meet the first party. Like, there were like 3 parties that you ran into down there.
I thought we only ran into one party. It was just the 2.
One, you accurately, like, you socialed out to have them leave.
Oh, okay.
They're like, we're rich. We're rich people, and we're here for the thrill. Yeah. And they're like, well, what exactly It's like, there's no thrill here. It's like, just fuck off. And they're like, we will kindly fuck off. Like, it was a very good social role, and you guys like talked them out of continuing to get in this race.
That was Io's whole thing. Like, Io's thing was charisma, so she could just like
and
talk to people like, you don't want to do this.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm a Targaryen. It's like, do you really want to be on the bad? Imagine what happened if you did win. It's like, you just messed with a Targaryen, and we have rage issues and long memories. And they're like, good point. I don't think it's worth it. It's not worth the thrill. We'll find something else to do. We'll canoe down to the beach with Buffy, and we'll just figure it out. But the other party was they had the same problem as Goldstein. So this dungeon was a dungeon race. Both of the adventurers were trying to get to the flower first. Mm-hmm. So there were 3 trials, effectively, that had to be done. One, I think, was with the north side and had to do with like crystal golems. And I forget what you need to do. I think it was light-related puzzle.
Yeah, it was like getting the light through. I remember one had to do with water.
Yeah, the water and the wasps. They all had to do with the dogma of the tribe. Mm-hmm. So if you knew of the tribe, it would be just as simple as doing these activities, and you wouldn't have any harm befall you. But there was a water weird in the water. It's like, what you do with this, like, not go in that water is what we're going to do. We're going nowhere near the terror water.
Don't go into the water.
There was one that had to do with rocks, and you had to do a certain thing to get to the blessing, because at the end of the day, you got blessings from them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like an object. Like, you were all blessed. The person was. And I forget what you did there, but you managed to handle that rather nicely. There was a second one that involved, I don't remember, water. I remember them fireballing you. That's what I remember. And I remember someone casting invisibility to sneak around to figure out how to go and proceed to the room with the flame and the wasps in the water. And that was crazy. It was effectively like a water, like a bridge, or a wood bridge that floats on the water. You had to go like straight ahead with a light and get the blessing and come back. And keep the light with you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was very Indiana Jones-esque. And then once 2 of the blessings were got, the final blessing was where they were figuring it out, and they're like, leave us alone. We don't want to hurt you, but if you get in our way, we will kill you. And then Madaslak was like, I think they fireball you. I'm like, oh, God, why? It's like, because they told you to fuck off and you kept walking toward him. Anyway, so they fireballed you, and the party like came to an uneasy armistice, and like, look, if we're doing a race, let's stay out of each other's way.
So you, the first person to get there wins. Like,
yeah, it's like, you're currently finishing this up. We will wait until you're done, but once you leave, we're gonna take a shot at it, and whoever gets there first is the person who gets there first. But let's not kill each other. We can, and I think it was Io that calmed them down. It's like, we can be civilized about this without murdering each other in a fucking temple. It's like, do you want to kill people in a temple?
Yeah, Io had to do a lot of, that was her main goal, was just like talking people away from killing us. She did that a lot.
Yeah.
Like, please go.
So,
because she had an abrasive party.
A very, very abrasive party, the more I think about it.
Yep.
So this temple still exists. It is the Temple of Selune. I think it's still on the map. Mm-hmm. It is where the wolf tribe goes to do their moon rituals.
Their woof things.
Their woofins. And it explains the 2 different type of lycanthropes that exist, because they finally do get to the area where they bloom, and then they discover why this is of any importance and why it matters. Because the flowers, it's important for like Phalor, is like, and the behind the waterfall or through the waterfall session was that this is how Feywild, the Feywild gets over to here. It's very thin between the Echo Planes, which is the Feywild, and the Shadow Plane, or like the Dark Fey, right? So during the full moon, it is extremely thin, and that is how like pixies and like sprites and fairies are born through the flowers. So effectively, you can take one of these, but you're killing a fey creature. In the process of doing it, you're killing babies, not like a fey creature, a baby. So it's like contextual. It's like, do you still want to continue doing this now that you know? So the very first, like, one of the deeper moral quandaries for the party to address. And they came back, they came down, they were doing the ritual, and the other party didn't have the same morality. They were much like kind of had a reflection of Dahlia's situation where, there are things I will and won't do, and I have a little sister or had a little sister. I'm not going to do this. And they're like, yeah, well, I need to be out from Goldstein's thumb. I'm going to go for it. And they do, and they go get one of the flowers, and a huge fight erupts between the lycanthropes, the white werewolves, and all the party. So instead of fighting, they wisely run the fuck out of there. So everyone just bolts and runs out. Everyone escapes alive. And that ends with them going out to the woods and camping. And they're like,
I know Dahlia gets a quandary after we leave, like something like she gets confronted by the elves or something at one point. Or no, is that Farron?
That's Farron. So Farron, yeah, and that's in the woods. You guys go back. So Farron goes back to the lady again, because elves, right? Hawk tribe, wolf tribes. Like, look, I'm an elf. I'm tribal. These are my people. Let me go talk to them. I think it's either Farron and Io or just Farron. But
because they're super racist, so I think it had to be just Farron.
Yeah.
Because he was the only elf.
Yeah, that's how it became the warden. So yeah, and I remember. So yeah. So Farron goes and talks to them. There was the matron and the maiden. So the matron runs the tribe and the ritual, and she's extremely xenophobic. Like, she just wants all non-elves to die, and we start, like, killing babies. It seems like she's legitimately justified. Regardless, Farron goes and says, look, here's a situation. Like, we want to protect them. And the lady's like, look, my mother effectively is still the leader of this tribe. There are white wolves and there are black wolves, and those are white wolves that are in service to and good. I think they captured one of the other party, and they subjected him to the ritual. And he turned dark, so they killed him. But those that are in service to are white werewolves, and those are like quote unquote good werewolves. And they're the ones that were chasing the people out, and they didn't pursue them when they left the temple. So they take fighting lycanthropy, evil lycanthropy, very seriously. Otherwise, it's a gift from nature, and they have control over it to do good things. So white wolves, black wolves. They gave effectively the same offer to Farron, but Farron was already from a tribe. It's like, well, you can spend the rest of your days protecting nature. You don't have a tribe to be beholden to, so you could be a warden. And that's how he became, and very much gripped into the idea of being a nature warden. And that was Farron's new title. He was a warden.
That's his crazy ass eye.
And that's how he got the wild eye. So he couldn't become a werewolf, but he got the blessing from, much like the white werewolf. So one of his eyes was very like a Lupin-esque. Like one eye was like a wolf, a wild eye, which allowed him to see some pretty insane shit. So he got a wild eye, and he got the flower. He was given it, and I think the one thing
been uprooted, so I think they're like
they're like it's already happened. It's very wasteful to just do nothing with it at this point. Like, and I want to say prior to Farron showing up, I think that's where they met Panger in the woods. No,
we meet
Alcina.
Panger.
No, you meet Alcina in the woods. Yeah, that's the first time you meet like Alcina away from Clyde. You meet the Red Fox, because Alcina, when you're camping there and when Farron's going back there, is with Clyde, and Clyde is talking to the lady before Farron does. So Clyde is constantly following you guys.
Yeah.
And Alcina is also an elf, so like
we leave an impression.
You leave an impression. So that's the other thing too. They realize that Alcina is a red fox, or red foxes with around you, and evidently the party really likes animals, which you're going to see Panger in a little bit.
Yeah, and we go to sleep in a cave.
Yep. At that point, everyone's like, okay, the fuck. We're going to take this, all right, hold on this flower here, and let's go return it. I think it was a quick montage back, and that's the second time you meet Albert. Because, because Albert, you go to return and like sell the flower, and it's Goldstein and Albert up there. And it's like, it's like, cool, well, I'll go ahead and address your debts. It's like, go ahead and just give me this flower. And
no,
Albert...
That happens later.
It does. It happens.
That all happens later.
That happens after the Modest Lock?
Because that's around the time... Because when we go to see Goldstein for that time, that's when we get almost shot at and murdered. So there's a whole bunch that happens before that.
Shot at and murdered.
Remember, because like there's a whole thing with like Gig and Io, and she makes that deal, and then we go back.
Oh, you mean Dahlia's trial? So you guys, at this point, you guys do the trials?
Yeah, we did a lot before we went back to Goldstein.
Okay. So you guys hold on that flower for a long period of time, season 1. Because you have it after that point. Yeah, and it's kind of discussed that, that Farron can't sleep. So his big thing is he's a warden. So he can't be, quote, or everyone believes that he can't be a champion. Because you guys go to the infamous penis cave.
Well, we don't know any of that yet. We haven't...
Wait, hang on.
What? Yeah, we don't know anything about the
remember the penis cave. Yeah.
All we know is that we're traveling.
And
we
Good.
All we know is that we're traveling.
Rule 1 is don't be a dick. We go to the penis cave.
Like, we're traveling. We come across some... we go to a cave to sleep. We come across the Spacer Beast. We kill them. And we go to sleep in the cave, and that's when we do the first Modest Lock's trial.
Yeah,
so
you guys.
We're just traveling when we get there.
Farron's like, you know what I want? I want a Displacer Cloak. I think that's even how it comes about too. It's like, what if I kill Displacer Beasts? So you guys go hunt Displacer Beasts, and that's
we didn't hunt Displacer Beasts. We were looking for a place to sleep, and they attacked us. And then Connor
that was their home. That was their penis cave. So you guys went to find a place to sleep. It's like it's inhabited. It's inhabited by two Displacer.
They came out and attacked us. We're like, oh shit.
You attacked them, but
yeah.
Regardless, again, you have a group of murder hobos. You attack them. Come on. Let's get real here. So you murder hobos attack 2 Displacer Beasts and their baby and kill them.
Yeah.
Which becomes that made me sad, which later became, hey, let's have Note. So good things happen from you guys murdering small animals.
Yeah.
And Farron of course skins one because he wants to displace her cloak.
Yeah.
As you do.
Very traditional D&D party. You guys go to the cave, you fall asleep, and that's, I think, the first time you meet Panger.
Yep. Yeah, that's the first time we meet Panger.
The first time.
I just see a cat.
Yeah, you see it. Yep, and I was like, what's this cat in this cave? You meet Panger, and Panger, walks into a wall, creates the first gate.
Yeah.
Of which the party goes into, and it's a very, it's like a pyramid almost. Like it's sand, and it's this big pyramid that everyone goes into for Modest Lock's. I don't think you do a trial. I think everyone goes to the astral plane first.
Yeah,
and touches the gate
first. Yeah.
So everyone goes to the penis cave, falls asleep except for Farron, and finds what their symbol is.
And Io can watch it through her.
And Io can watch it through the Heartstone.
She's trying to learn. Yeah, she's trying to learn stuff.
Everyone finds it, goes back into their body, with the exception of Farron and Io. So Modest Lock finds his. Dahlia finds hers. Farron can't do anything, or was unable to figure that out, so he did not do anything.
Dahlia has something with wasn't that when she did a thing with the clock inside? I remember that happening at one point.
She did something with her watch.
Yeah, while she was in there.
She did something with her watch when she was in Crystallis. I just don't remember which trip to Crystallis.
Talk.
She's trying to figure out why it's working again, and it's like, well, you need nethicite, and that's like when the idea of the rare ingredients and rare metals really came into play. It's not a common item.
Yeah.
So everyone takes a nap, finds out where they exist on the door. At some point, Balto shows up, and Farron has a spirit walk through the door and nearly dies, so that you find out what's inside the door. I remember when
that's later.
That's later.
That's like that's in the Wood times, probably around the time that he the incident with Sebastian happens, because there was a lot of like woods travel.
Season 1 had so much fucking shit that happened. Now that I'm recalling it all on a Fireside chat,
there's a lot of shit that happened.
Like, I think I need like honey tea. It's like my throat's dying from recalling all this crap.
Oh God.
So
kill yourself.
I'm gonna try not to.
I know you said don't kill yourself, but I missed the don't. So it's just like,
just
God,
kill yourself.
I'm like, oh.
Season 9's canceled. Your DM died. So you guys went, and the very first trial was Modeslox, and it was guided. Say, here's the entrance. Panger's like, follow me. I am an adorable cat. And everyone's like, of course we're gonna follow you.
Why wouldn't you follow?
Why wouldn't you follow you? And Panger didn't have a name at that point, so he was explained as like Catbunkle. It's like a large, feline fox-like creature, a large feline creeper with fennec ears, white blue fur, and a gem in his forehead. So it's like large, like dog size. So okay, Catbunkle, fair enough. It's like, if you're familiar with Carbuncle, we can work this out. You go in and it's puzzles, and that's to what is it? To Duck's point, do not give your players puzzles. Like, do not give them excessive
Don't
puzzles.
do it.
Do
Oh
not
my
just
God.
don't give
don't do
them
it.
riddles.
Nope.
Don't give them puzzles.
Nope.
It's like the smart people feel like their intelligence is threatened. The people who are like not trivia buffs are like it's a lose-lose, really. If anything, it's like it's an optional thing. So anyway, there were 9 puzzles / riddles, which was the purpose of Modeslox, because he was a sage of truth. So his things is trying to find the truth. If you've ever played the game Talos Principle, it was very much attuned to the idea of seeking the truth for like kind of existence, because he was a cleric of Ogma. So trying to seek the truth. Collectively, the group went through the puzzles. Collectively, the group succeeded.
Just say we succeeded and go past that whole session, because
it was the session that we don't want to ever talk about ever again, and we'll just say that he succeeded his trial, and he got a cool staff out of it that had a gem in the top.
Let's not go back to the dark times.
So his object of that was a staff of truth, and through it had a gem of true sight. So within I think it was 5 feet or less, it was true sight. So you could see between Farron's wild eye, it was the huge joke that he would check his wild eye, which allowed him to see things that more people couldn't because of Feywild sight, and that Modeslox could see things with the gem that are true. So boobs and truth, I think, started actually there because he had truth.
Yeah, because he had the truth. Those boobs and truth.
Yeah, it's like, what does Io bring? Boobs and truth. Fantastic. They fight crime together. I want to say after that, I was like, well, if you get that, I want to do mine. And so Dahlia, I think, was next, and you went and fought the Sand Pirates. That was a fun session.
Yeah, so I think when going to, because Modeslox was able to look through his gem, and it would tell him the location of where things were. So we knew kind of the location of where their trials were. We didn't know what we were going to face. But we're like, okay, they have to go through these trials to be your champions. So I had a very rough understanding of what was going on. But in general, I need to get champions to fight Gigareth. And so it was a really rough, because I was writing letters to Willis at this point, hey, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And so he was giving her some knowledge. I'm like, okay. Or it was to Fritz or something.
Yeah,
Fritz
she was sending notes to
Willis and being the fuck.
Willis, and I think Willis actually sent her a note through Fricks, because Willis was like, hey, I'm not dead. I'm able to communicate with you.
She thought that Willis was alive.
Yes.
Yeah, she didn't. We didn't find that till later.
Later, yeah. So she was getting letters from her brother because she had not confirmed. She did not find the corpse. But it was really Fricks that was writing them.
And I think when we traveled to go to Dahlia's trial, because again, traveling through the woods are very dangerous.
Oh, yeah. God, that's the Sebastian incident?
Yeah, I think that's the Sebastian incident.
I forget why or what attacks you exactly, or why you chase them.
So, I don't think something was attacking us. I think what I remember happening
was Knowles,
we
wasn't
were all
it?
asleep. Huh?
Was it Knowles?
No. I think maybe Knowles at one point attacked us, but all I remember is I think we were all sleeping or something, and Farron heard something because he was on watch.
Mm-hmm.
So he went out to go after it, and he went into like an opening, and he heard a snap up in the trees, and rather than go to see what it was, he just shot at it, and he killed his own bird.
He killed Sebastian.
Oh no!
Yep.
This is when we learned the shoot first and ask question later is not a good tactic.
No.
I think that was one of his flaws too. It was like forces a solution to every problem. Was like on his sheet.
Yeah, we called him like this. It was like stabbings or something like. Stabbing is always the solution.
Yeah, got a problem? Stab it.
Stab it. Yeah. That
goes full circle with sin. Just stab your problems away. Not that I ever talked. Ford punched a lot of things. So.
And then he put his bird in his bag, and he just walked around with a dead bird for a while.
Yep, it was very sad. But also, there was like a chase scene, whatever it was that was being chased, or that they chased. Everyone went in different directions. People couldn't see well in the dark, so like.
Oh yeah, it was a shit show.
Dahlia got captured, and then like an angry bird dead Farron was like, "My bird is dead. Everything here will die." So he succeeded in like one-offing and whatever it was with his dagger, hence stab it. Like he is an archer, and he.
I think that's when we saw the mannequins again.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, we're remembering things. We got this.
Excitement. Teamwork.
It wasn't.
Remembering. It's been so long ago.
I remember it was mannequins exactly that was fighting. You were fighting against, but there was that time.
It was mannequins.
It was mannequins. Okay, so
it was mannequins, or it was like either that, then we found the guy was like commanding the mannequins.
Right.
But only Farron saw that and didn't really tell anyone.
Yeah.
Just saw the guy that he thought he killed controlling all these mannequins, but they were fighting off the same things that we were fighting, and he just didn't tell us, and we just kept going.
That was because that was also the time where you saw somebody fighting mannequins in the woods with his shadow.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we come later to learn who that is.
Correct.
Italian.
Yes. It's Italians going cray. So
yeah.
he at that point Italian had made a pact with Gigan and became the first Dark Knight. And yep, so he's very Bernheim. What's up?
Oh, we missed a part. I'm sorry. I know this is all over the place. We did go back to because we wanted to get answers, so we went back to the. I
mean, it's season 1. It was like over 3 years ago. I'm surprised I remember any of this shit.
We went back to the Targaryen Manor because I was like, "Hey, I need to get some answers," and she went there, and that's when she found out that Willis was inside of
the statue, and that Fricks was writing the letters.
Yeah, and that's when Italian was still with us, and Italian was just like, "I'm gonna stay here and fix the manor." So we left. We thought we left Italian there.
Yeah, and he was like trying to rebuild it, and, like get out his like family effects, and like held like a piece of the tabard with him and whatnot. And he just
we just left him there because he wanted to clean up the manor, and we had talked with Willis and got like a brief understanding of what was going on. And that's when we were like, oh, we have to do these trials. Mm-hmm. And that's when after that, we went to go do Dahlia's trial.
Got it.
So we did that first. And so we thought Italian was just fine at the manor, but he was not.
Was it that first and then you did Modest Locks? Because I think that was what had you started doing all the trials.
Maybe, because then I think Willis told us that we had to get close to the...
Yeah, so you went and just like, I need to find a place to sleep. I think it's
And we
around the same time that you get introduced with Balto.
Yeah, Balto was like a brief one session. Hey, there's a wolf in the woods. She licks you for 1 point of health.
Yeah, it was funny. Someone trying out D&D. It ended up not being her thing, but it was kind of funny.
Like, lick 1 for health.
Yes, it
1
was
point.
quite endearing. Spirit Wolf. So yeah, we missed that factoid and had that little out of sequence. So you did go back and do that. You then went forward and did Modestlock's trial. At that point, that's what makes sense, because as you were going to Dahlia's trial, you encountered the mannequins in the wood. Farron shot his bird. You ran across, you couldn't tell who, but it was, the shadow, which was at that point the armor, and Talion facing off against a champion, and they were fighting. And then everyone went to where Dahlia's trial would start, and that, I guess, another favorite part of season 1, which was the Sand Pirates.
Yeah, Sand Pirates!
So whereas Modestlock's trial we will never speak of again, Dahlia's trial we will speak of repeatedly. So her entire trial
was murder.
Was murder. Is the most glorious murder. Was that they were on a beach, like, okay, this is where my trial is, and, I'm a fighter, I'm a knight, so what am I supposed to do here? And it's like, well, there's supposed to be a ship. So out of the sand is a ship made of sand, and pirates made of sand, and the idea is this ship is going as though the sand is water, full speed at them, like a galleon, just, and they're like, well, fuck. So they go very Pirates of the Caribbean style, and they fight these pirates made of sand. And they find that if Dahlia is not the one who kills them, they split in 2. So it's very, very attuned to Dahlia fighting and coordinating with her and them. So they fight through these sand pirates. They go up into the deck of the sand ship, just swashbuckling their way fighting, and they fight the captain. Dahlia 1v1 versus captain on a sand ship as everyone's fighting sand-based pirates, and he's just laughing boisterously and attacking her, and he's attacking back. It was a jolly good time, jolly good cooperation, and she gets him down enough, and he succeeds his weapons to her, and the ship starts falling apart, and she grabs the weapons, and she erupts in blood. And like just covered in blood from head to toe, and they end up like going on the beach like, is this normal? Like Dahlia is like covered in blood and then has sand on the blood, so she's just like this sand blood cocoon.
Yeah,
it's like, is she okay? And like, well, she's breathing, and Masak's like, I'm a doctor, I'm a scientist, so it's like, I just need to maintain her she'll be fine by morning. This is when Io does a deal with Gig.
Yep.
Ooh.
This is, I think, when Tarquin shows up briefly.
Yeah, like just briefly, because my brother wanted to see.
Yeah.
He wanted to join, but then we couldn't get his schedule to work with ours, so he was only there for like the session.
Yeah, so footnote, a person hops in and around here and also hops out, so I'm just going to move past Tarquin. Io meets, again, Lady Gig, who's no longer in her armor, but is with someone who is in armor.
So I just see a white-haired woman.
A white-haired woman who explains that, there's a vested interest that things stay the way that they are, so we should stay out of each other's way. And as an olive branch, I have created this, like here. This is an hourglass. Like, I have one. What's not an hourglass? Like, here's a sand glass. You have one, I have one. When we meet, the sand will go from one side to the other. During this time, we can't harm each other. So it's not this, we can never hurt each other, but this allows us time for, peaceful discourse, or to not be in each other's way. To which Io agreed to those terms.
Because, I mean, I remember, I think I'd heard stories about this person, and like there's definitely the aura of if I say no, then they'll just kill us then and there.
Yeah.
And she's
She
like,
figured that if there's no alternative, then they are simply in its way and significantly stronger, especially considering that they're in a vulnerable state.
Yeah.
So she makes the deal, of which Dahlia does not let her live down at all, ever.
Nope, never. Because it was kind of like, you either make this deal or everyone dies. Like, you choose.
It is heavily implied. Like,
yeah, it's heavily implied.
Oh man.
So that starts to wrap up season 1, because the last thing you do in season 1, like you do I don't remember when, you do the Apollo Balacala, which is the flower, and you have that conversation with Albert and Goldstein about its worth. And I think you sell it to, like, you clear out the debt with Goldstein that way. You clear that with Goldstein that way. I can't remember when that happens, but it does, because the last thing you guys do is you are going to infiltrate Freeport, because the sand pirate thing was south of Freeport, just south.
Yeah, well, because I remember the thing that pissed myself and Io off was that Io made this deal so that they wouldn't all die, and then we went to Crystallis to go to Goldstein, and she went to go try to have him take the flower, and he wouldn't take it. He's like, oh no, I'd rather just have you in my debt.
Mm-hmm.
And she realized that there's like no way of getting out of it, and she and Io threaten him and say like, well, we'll just have to take you down. Like, I was like, I am a Targaryen, like I can just take you down.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see how that goes. And then when they go to leave, he sends his assassins after them.
That happens in between season 1 and season 2, though.
No, it happens as a character. It was a session thing.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember she made the decision, and it made me real pissed off, because she essentially made the same decision Io did, but she still wouldn't let Io live down the decision that she made. I'm like, fuck you, man. This is a dick move. Because then he sends his assassins after them, like, as they're going to go leave, and she's essentially left in the situation of, like, if they were going to go after him, they couldn't do it in public kind of thing. He's like, if you go after me, I can just have my assassins go after you.
I thought that
like,
was
fine.
season 1, season 2, because he also had the conversation that you were reducing his power, and that if you don't stop, then this is the warning.
Yeah, something like that. But it was still season 1, because season 2 is when Dahlia starts working, because that's when Io has her outpost.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that happened season 1.
Yeah. All right. So maybe there's still the threat, or like, I'll take it, but you're still within my debt. Like I could have sworn that he's kind of like pressed to truly release her from debt in season 1 because of like the Io situation.
Yeah. So I think he released, but like, I just remember there was something like we threatened, and then he essentially said, if you keep trying to take me down, I can just kill you.
Yeah, and that happens.
And then Dahlia,
I know that happens between season 1 and season 2, because at that point you've invested so much money in trying to take him down.
Yeah, and then Dahlia's like, fine, we'll stop going after you, which is essentially the same kind of deal.
Yeah, you definitely anchored into that. I remember that. It's like, it's the same deal, WTF. Like, you had to walk through that. But that was the start of season 2 when you guys were doing inter-season stuff. The releasing them did happen in season 1. Semantic. It did occur.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain, and I remember you guys not going back after the blood trial because it was so close to Freeport, and Tarquin's appearance effectively was letting you know that Freeport's under attack. So, like, going back to Crystallis would have made sense.
Right, I think we found out that there was a demon disturbance happening in Freeport.
And the dragon sighting. Like, that was the big thing. Like, no one at this point had seen dragons. Like, actual dragons. In
New Freeport.
Yeah, and, like, there's Dragonborn. Like, yeah, sure. And that's kind of like, you mean Dragonborn, they're trying to think themselves so high and mighty, making up these comments of dragons. And unless you're, like, a 400-year-old dwarf, you don't really recall dragons. So the idea that dragons exist was insane. Now, that said, Tarquin, the brief mention thereof, was escaping out of Freeport.
Right.
And saying, yeah, well, it got sieged, like, hardcore. they're doing
We
bad
went there to
things.
try to help them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when you met up with Clyde, and he's like, "No, this is a real thing that's happening." It's like, and here's the intelligence we've gathered about this. Like yeah.
I know around that time we lose Madislak.
You do, and you lose him the very first session. I remember because of the cage, and that's why the flower is really important, because the flower is something you try to take from Olivia successfully.
Okay, right. Yes, and then Sebastian.
Yes,
Becomes his own bird.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Truth.
Okay. Continue.
With it.
Yep.
Okay. So, Clyde, they run to Clyde and Evelyn again, and they explain that there are, portals, basically to hell, so Avernus, that are within Freeport, and they've invaded to get legions of Infernals out into Freeport. That a dragon did siege and break the walls, and they're, occupying the town and just going buck wild on Freeport, like claiming it as their own. Yeah. So at this point, Clyde has like no faith at all in this party. He's like, look,
It's fair.
Yeah, he's like, this time, like, very happy-go-lucky Flynn Rider as character is like, look, I know what we have to do. I'm gonna go do my part. It's like, you guys are just all over the place. I'm gonna go close these portals. There's 2 portals, and I'm gonna go take care of this portal.
We weren't what you'd call an organized party.
Yeah. So it wasn't a whole lot. So it was Clyde, Alcina, and Evelyn. And they're like, we'll take care of this one. And like, well, cool. Clyde's going to do this. I'm sure he can figure out his scenario. What we need to do is, how are we going to get in? So their way of approaching was they're going to go into the docks. And this is where you lost Madislak, right? And that's where I explained the rules with, the hourglass. And that's why the thing I mentioned happened between seasons, because you had more contention because of this scene.
Right, because I didn't tell them about the deal.
Right.
Right.
So you guys went in, kind of fought your way in against like devils, like barbed devils, to get your way to the docks, where there was like blood everywhere going to the docks, and like a little girl having a tea party with zombies. It was just
with mannequins.
With mannequins. Yep, with mannequins. So mannequins with mannequins. So this very Alice-like character is sitting, and she's having tea, and she has.
It was Olivia, because we'd met.
It was Olivia, so you had met her, Olivia in the flesh, and she had the Apollo Balacala. She had the white flower. So everyone's like, "Oh, well, she wants to have tea with us. Let's us oblige the little girl and have tea with her. But what we're really gonna try to do is steal that flower." Mm-hmm. And the plan works out decently enough. No one gets into too much combat there that I recall. Like, there's some. But the big fact is that you guys get the flower, and she goes back to being a ghost.
Yeah.
Then, Gig shows up with his Black Knight. And shows Io that, hey, this is a champion, just like Dahlia, just like Madislak. You can kill her. She's just going to go back. It's like, but you can defeat her, and I can show you how. Mm-hmm. Makes a second deal with Gig. Absolutely, yep. Shows her how to use it like an instrument, like music. And it severs the ties of Olivia, the champion, to Albert. And in which case, Gig takes her soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the group attacks Gig, which they shouldn't do because of the artifact, the hourglass, which cracks.
But we waited till... right, because of course Farron. Right.
Yeah, Farron can't let it go. Farron goes attacks. And then, Farron finds out that, shooting Gig in the face is not great when he doesn't want to be shot in the face. Hashtag shot in the face. It is late. Farron does that. He gets blasted back or reduced or moved back. I just remember that he is no longer attacking him because Gig fixes the hourglass and leaves with his knights, and then everyone turns on Io, and then Io has to go justify herself, which goes into the thing that you were very irate about a moment ago.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then Modislok got like contained in mannequins and taken away because also the player we couldn't make.
Yeah, unfortunately had to go. So that was the same time like where he was shipped off to like Avernus. This was the time when in like a crate. So there was some battling that happened, and that's when everyone lost Modislok somewhere during that raid on Freeport. And he was put into a cage and shipped off to no one truly knows where until later on. You realize he was at Avernus. The very last thing that happens during season 1 after all of that shenanigans is they still need to stop the the devil threat, the infernal threat, not demonic threat. So yeah, that's intense sadness. Super intense sadness. So Clyde and Alcina and Evelyn are taking care of the one portal, as discussed. They go to the Seaside Arena to fight and close the next one. So they find their way in. They rush into the area. They take care of the cultist situation. But the portal is open. They're like, how do we fucking close this thing? Well, a big bone demon comes on out. And it's anchored to it. So it goes to protect the portal. Like, comes on out. Big fucking thing. That is when Sebastian returns. That is when Sebastian, as a griffin, returns, and Farron is just pleased as fucking punch to have his bird back.
Yeah, because he like put the flower in the same bag.
Yeah, he did,
and it made him into a griffin.
Correct. So like he put the flower, the dead bird that he's been keeping with him for a while, and like it flew out and it came back down as Sebastian 2.0. So everyone starts engaging and fighting with the big ass bone demon. The sad end to the season is when they're doing a fairly good job of fighting the bone demon, and Alcina comes rushing in as a dire fox and is telling them that they have to wait. Like they're currently
can't kill the bad
guy. Can't. Yeah, they can't kill him quickly. Like they have to wait. Clyde is still stuck on the other side. You have to wait. Farron does not wait. I think the big thing is the bone demon has Sebastian, who he just got back in his clutches, and Farron makes the snap decision to kill the bone demon as opposed to potentially lose his bird again. And that's when the portal closes, and Clyde, whose main thing is like doing the shadow jumping, but it's more like a misty step. But he does it with his dagger. So he gets his dagger out, and he's misty stepping through, and he gets his arm and like I think it's the bag that's on his wrist through, and then it shuts. That's how he loses his arm, Gabe style.
Oh,
yeah, because she says like Clyde's coming through the portal. He went into the other portal. We realized
it's one way, not two ways.
One was an entrance, and the other is the exit. So he jumped in there to go after the guy that created the portal, and he was fighting, and then he was trying to get out. So we had to wait long enough to let him get out, but Farron didn't listen. And so we just see Clyde running, and then Farron stabs the bone demon, and all Clyde can get out is his arm.
Yep. With this intel.
Yeah. And then there's real depressing scenery with Alcina.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to go through it to great detail, but hey, it's the end of the season 1 recap. So when that decision is made, like they can see that what Alcina is saying is legitimate, but again, it's a one-way portal, so you can't go in from that direction. It bang against it's like hitting against a pane of glass. So she is, when the portal is closing, just like banging her head against it as like a dire wolf, and then she's like blood's dripping down her face because she can't get any closer, and she can't force her way to the other side. So she's like concussion level bleeding, and then like that little bit of hope, and then gone. And that's why it was like the very first difficult thing between season 1 and 2, because they left her on top of a tower. Was like, would she have killed herself because she was in a dark place?
Oh. That's dark. Yeah, that's all right. Season 1.
Season 1 ended with, guess what? Arhor'ha is gonna have that I hope you like pain, because it's got bittersweet all over it. You stop the infernal invasion at a cost. Everything has a cost. Hence some of the guiding principles that we talk about, like it's a highly magical world. There are fates worse than death. Everything has a cost.
Yeah.
Really came out to a lot of those things that came out of season 1.
Huh.
And then there's gonna be it has a very bittersweet note to it across the board. Very few things are pure positive, fluff and sugar. Things typically aren't completely grimdark. It's somewhere in between.
Need more fluff and sugar.
Yeah, there's very little fluff and sugar. Yep, and that was season 1. Any other tidbits I missed there, Emma, on season 1?
I think we got all the big points. I know we learned that Alberta was getting married off.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the time that we learned that Ty was creating an army, or if that was the second season.
Second season. So with first season,
okay.
it was mentioned that Alberta is the worst.
The
best way it's like was like a rich socialite who's constantly drunk or high. I mean, she's pretty, but she only has one function, which is have more kids. Yeah,
she's there to get married and further the family line.
Yeah,
because she's the oldest.
She's the eldest, eldest lady of the house. Yeah, whereas Ty is to assume power and lineage and whatnot. Willis was an academic, so very research oriented. If you like Mig, it's very similar personality, although he kind of died rather early. And Io had no responsibilities, so she got all the benefits of being a royal family without any responsibilities. She's like the baby.
Until all of a sudden she had all
and then
the
suddenly she had all the responsibilities.
Huh.
That was season 1, Fireside chat style. Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember if there's any other facts out of season 1 that I might have missed.
I don't think so, because we know Gig doesn't do the gender
piracy until season 6.
Right.
With season 6 at the very second season, he switches back. It's no, it's this is a coat. I can take my coat off.
And then snaps, and then all of a sudden he's Gig that we know.
Yeah, the
but
Gig
for the longest time we saw Gig as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Did you talk about Dahlia being able to go to the Dark Heart side too, or did I miss that part?
Huh?
I remember Buck talking about where Dahlia had a choice to stay with the Crystal Fellowship or go with the Dark Hearts. Excuse me. In the Dreamland.
Was that around the time when they first did the dream? Because I know there was because I remember there's something. It was around the first time everyone did their Dreamland thing, and there was something where she went into a big circular area.
Oh yeah. So good catch. Dahlia had the option of portraying the party. Yeah, Trey's right. When you guys first went to the door, because she was pulled away to have a conversation with her sister Iris.
Right.
So the same person she danced with, so it was familiar. The whole entire thing with the clock, so she knew it was her. And it's hey, you could be my champion, and she declined. There's been a good declining of betrayal in Arhor'ha, which is good. Generally, the bad endings. Generally, the bad endings come from betrayal. It's all subjective. It just changes the world, and then suddenly you're the bad guy. But I mean,
yeah,
makes a good story. Yep. What else?
I think that was everything from season 1.
Yep, covered Fricks, covered what was going on with her parents, the great uncle. Del's potion was pretty much forgotten after that. It existed.
We had Del's potion. I know we learned that. I can't remember when we used it the second time. I think it was season 2, and then we learned that the potion does essentially what you need it to do, but you can't tell it because we used it again at one point and it didn't explode. It did something different. So then we learned it wasn't always going to explode.
Yeah, season 2 had the Tempest Fanatic though.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's right.
It was like towards the end.
And a Minotaur.
Yeah, because that had not Frungi.
Not Frungi.
That Ferd.
Ferd. Yeah.
Ferd was season 2, and because he ate the stone, and I know that whole thing. That was season 2.
Was Tempest? I mean, I'm trying to remember when we started recording in person. I don't.
No, we started recording in person. Season 3.
Okay. Season 2 is a continuation of season 1, and then we like set up like the living room with like cameras, and it was a big production mess. And then we're like, cool. So if I ever have to play in person again, I'm like, I think it's gonna be a podcast style, and hopefully you guys are close enough to the mic because that was really challenging to put together. Like there were like markers on the floor and whatnot where if you move past this, because if you move past it, you're out of scene. Like you're out of the shot.
Yeah, because we had like cameras in certain spots. So like there was the couch where most of us sat on. There's like 2 couches, and then the DM. So like everyone sat in their spot.
You can go watch it.
You can. It's on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
it's a mess. It's a mess. And that's also where some dickitude happened.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Well,
that's drinking in D&D.
D&D. I think season 2 is pretty brief. I could probably cover that and stop there. Season 2 was really
like
brief. Wasn't even a half. I can remember like one thing you guys did. That's it. Season 2. I mean, there was a lot in between 1 and 2 because there was a 6-month gap. That's where you did the thing with Dahlia and Goldstein, where you spent money trying to bring him down. You guys got your tavern in Freeport as you tried relief aid there. Farron was like, I am the warden. I hunt devils out in the wilderness. And he got really up on that with his griffin.
Yeah, because Dahlia was working on getting money to give to the people that...
Like she would start buying out their
and that's when we learned about coins too. I think we learned about the coins in the first season.
Yeah, that's right, because you had like a bunch of them, and like 0 of them were used to help Clyde.
Well, because we didn't understand how they worked.
And I think that was also the case. That must have been when Booberry was there, because Booberry had a coin. No, I think that must have been season 1.
Yeah, it had been season 1 because Dahlia was being hunted after by assassins because of
the debt with Goldstein. Yeah, that's the thing that we missed from season 1. So Clyde gave like coins, and they were very, very important. They're like, you could effectively wish death upon someone.
Specifically to Farron, who didn't tell Dahlia that he had the coin that could save her from assassins.
Correct.
Oh my god.
And I'm pretty sure he gave that coin when they were doing the thing with the Moon Temple, with the Selune Temple. It's like, here's the coin. She's in trouble. And it's like, she's a complete and utter bitch, but I wouldn't wish death upon her, considering...
But I think he kept it. I think they like didn't take it.
Yeah.
Or something. And so then Dahlia's like, wait, you had a coin to stop assassins from coming after me? He's like, oh yeah.
I think that's what happened in the woods as well. That the thing that was attacking wasn't mannequins, it was assassins. Because you end up killing all the assassins, and then you saw the mannequins attacking who you now know as Talion.
Yeah, and then Dahlia had a coin. She eventually got it from Farron after he told her that he had the coin.
Yes, that's true.
And so then she had it in case she got attacked by assassins.
Ah.
Because if they were actual assassins from like Kellenbor, that would buy them like a reprieve or a parlay or anything more than, death. Alas, not utilized.
So I think we're like, I mean, things are a little bit out of order because I think actually the big speech in Crystallis, we had Ferd there because I remember Ferd did a big speech where he's trying to tell the horse to be strong. And he got the horse
Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, so we got it mixed around a little bit. So that happened in the second season because we got back into Crystallis because that's when Dahlia tried to.
And Dahlia was regularly fighting in the arenas.
We had to get
make money.
information because we had. Oh god, now I remember. It's all coming back in horrifying flashes. Because we had the Tempest guy, and he was like, "Oh, well, we can go here." We were trying to get information. We had to do research.
And you were using the Heartstone to know who you could trust as like a fallback, like who's champion worthy.
We wanted to get the hourglass investigated so we can figure out how we could break it.
Correct. Yeah. And that I remember you guys leaving season 2 with it being investigated and getting an answer to that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we went there specifically to drop it off to get it looked after.
Right. So I know that season 2 started after your interseason resolutions, like Goldstein was one of them, was the big one I remember between 1 and 2 where you had to resolve. That was where, he pseudo-assassinated you guys like as a warning.
I think I'm going to be real honest. The more I'm thinking about it, I think the pseudo-assassination happened in season 2, and that resolution of what like Dahlia did happened between 2 and 3.
Okay.
Damn it.
Huh?
Nani?
Sorry.
We're like somewhere in there. Like we
I didn't realize I was on. I apologize.
Because like we were trying to fund an outpost because we need an outpost. It's all meshing together.
It really is. So the things that I do remember, because season 2 was a complete cluster.
Yeah, like I can tell you what happened. I just can't tell you the order in which it happened.
I mean, sure. The fact is that it occurred. I think the order of operations isn't going to adjust pretty much a whole lot. Mm-hmm. The idea is that with Freeport being gone, Crystallis needed a new outpost between the demonic, infernal threat that existed and Crystallis. The Targaryen banner was restored after establishing the outpost as a sign of good faith, saying like, look, this is how we make reprieves. We'll do it with action. Io was going to be like, great, you need to start this. It was the idea for season 2 headquarters, like or having a keep or a fort, and the change between 1 and 2 is like, what do you do when you actually own and are responsible for like a fort or a keep, which is very traditional D&D. When you get to be like Lords of the Realm, you have like a keep. It's something you do. So here's your outpost, and it was discovered that no one in Aurora Adventures wants to deal with that shit, which is fine. So it's like, okay, you now have a steward, and he'll take care of it for you. Just give him basic instructions. You want to go adventure. So the very first thing you do is you ended up having to deal with Tempest Guy, because part of the requirements in that fort is that you had some clerics and clerics of war, which are Tempest, the god, not Tempest, the wind. Was there. That's how you got Tempest Cleric, whose name I don't remember because he's just Tempest Guy.
You don't need to remember it.
And he was very like Latin, like had like a little Latin chants, whatever. So you guys went south because there was something that happened, and that's where you met. Oh fuck, that's gonna drive me crazy now. Klaus. You met Klaus.
Klaus.
Yeah. Klaus. Sergeant Klaus. So also a Tempest Cleric. And he was coming back from a southern patrol, and there's bad things that happen to the south, and that's where Old Freeport is, or Ruins of the Whitewater. So the Palo Pros, for example, that all came there, and was first shown up there. So the group, which is Ferd, who was a captain of the guard. I think he was like legitimately the captain of the guard, and Cleric, and Io.
Well, no, he wasn't anything. Remember, he was. Blueberry brought him back because it was like her
right
favorite. Yeah, there's that whole backstory.
Let's
do you want to go past that?
No, I don't want to bring it up after talking for this much time.
Just know that Ferd used to be a horse.
Yeah,
I think that's the best thing. Just know Ferd used to be a horse.
Yeah, I think that's when you see me being short about some ridiculous ideas, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. That season 1 and season 2 was like, I was a horse once. I'm like, no, you weren't a horse once. Can we work on your backstory?
And he was stupid, and he was trying to learn everything again.
So I think that for those that are familiar with Slayers and some of the insanity that came out of some decisions there from one specific person, I'm like, no, that's just not how it is, and we're gonna fix it and we're gonna work with it together, but that's not what happened. I don't have the bar for that. So Ferd wasn't a thing. I'm pretty sure Io was still there. The Tempest Cleric was there. Farron was there. I think. Dahlia was there. I think. I know Dahlia was there because Tempest Cleric and Dahlia didn't get along at all.
Right.
Farron, I'm pretty sure because Connor's awesome and he hadn't gone to Morocco yet. I think.
Right. I think. Yeah. I think when.
Let's assume that that's the case.
I think when Connor had to leave, that's when Ferd came in.
Okay.
I think because he was going to Morocco, so like Connor left the country, and then we were like, well, we need another player, and then Ferd came in. So like that's around.
Yeah. So to break out how awesome this is, someone we played D&D with prior to went to Peace Corps. We still played D&D, came back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Same season. It's very, very cool story. D&D, the thing that bonds. You gotta let it into your heartstone. So everyone, power of friendship. Now, everyone went south, and very cool water-like town. So that's like, I think Spirit Away is how Koshi explained it, which is pretty good. It's like this pale moonlight area that the water goes high enough that when it's the highest tide, there's some water at the farthest part, but half of the city is underwater because of it. And it's ruined, and people are like cursed there. So people don't want to be anywhere near this place.
Oh, that's not cool.
Yeah. So like there are ghosts, and that's when you fought a Gorgon, like Stone Bowl, but that wasn't as important as you guys going to where Sin and Alexa did, which was the temple where there was fire. And the fire,
so that whole thing, like I remember it from the session.
Yeah. So everyone went in, and there was the fire and the two different types of fire, which showed different parts of Freeport. There was the no fire, which is, this is depressing. There was, I think there was blue fire and like yellow fire.
Blue fire showed past Freeport.
When everything was okay.
Yeah.
So the fire that everyone was using and was lit to when you saw in, I think it was the one shot. I can't remember, but no. It was season. So you guys went up to Freeport. Yeah, it was last season. Yeah, I'm jumbling things up after talking for 3 hours.
I know. So that just happened with Alexa and Sin. Like we were walking down, we saw the people because we had.
Yeah, and that's how you got Roya and Ford and Trashed, right? Yeah. So you guys had the blue flame, which showed what Freeport was like before it got attacked.
Yeah. Okay.
The red flame, which they had because they had normal torches with them, showed it when it was being attacked. And then, for whatever reason, D&D, someone tries like, what happens if we mix them together? And
we cross streams.
And then you
don't cross streams.
And I think that's when like elementals showed up to attack. It's like elementals are like, you're fucking with the natural order of things. We're going to erase this and set it back to where it should be.
Yeah.
Also, again, Leviathan was over there. So, yeah, it's absolutely going to make sure that wound stays as healed as possible. Which means the souls that are there, because they're stuck between worlds, can't ever leave. So everyone saw like the ghosts are there, and they just can't. They can't go anywhere. They're stuck. So everyone got a chance to like see the ghosts and interact with them a little bit, see what Freeport was, and when it was attacked and bad things happened here. And that's when you guys first met Belania.
And we found the book, The Great and Wonderful Gig. Like we learned a lot.
You learned a lot in there.
Wait, there's a book?
There is a book.
Yo, there is a book. So
I want to read this shit. I
I must read this. I have to write this. What?
It's a pretty big tome. If I ever fiction NaNoWriMo, I'll write the Great and Wonderful Gig. But I mean, it's effectively as they were investigating old Freeport or the ruins with the correct lighting, they did find literature about like, hey, you know, Gig, not Gigareth, but Gig, and who is this person? And it's like, and from their perspective, it's this great builder, this great constructor, the same way that we think of people like Tesla and Edison. Like these just.
And
great...
I think this was around the time that we started to piece together that the white-haired woman was Gig.
Yeah, I think the theory crafted began.
We just called her white-haired woman.
The white-haired woman. So there were a Sahagin there, so angry fish people. And
angry fish people.
Yeah, buddy. I love them. I love them.
They're angry fish people. But they were being drawn in by a song because Belania was there. And Belania was singing a siren song to draw them into a ship, or at least deeper into Old Freeport, which you now know as Skyport, because it was at that point still attached to Freeport. So I think it was Farron that killed her.
Yep.
Like
chopped her
into bits. Like,
oh my god.
Like it wasn't just here's an arrow. It was and this is where Farron left. So I remember this is how we sent Farron off. So Farron's last thing was Old 3 points. So Farron not only killed Belania, after the Sahagin is like, well, put your hands over your ears, and he's like, I will shoot her. It's like, and she's not gonna ever do this again, so I'm gonna just chop her up, bits and pieces.
That's disturbing.
Savage.
We had a lot of murderers in our group.
Yeah, so
kill everything.
At that point, Albert took what was left of her, and escaped back into the area, into Skyport with the pieces of Belania. And Farron became enthralled. I forget how, but he thought that he was just fighting demons, straight up demons, not even devils. He was
I think he got the song got to him, so he
went crazy,
walked onto the boat of his own will and thought that he was killing all these things, and we went after to try to save him, and we got stuck in the engine.
Damn.
So he went, totally got to his mind, made him go pretty crazy. He thought he was in Avernus. It's time to go kill people. I am the warden, the lone warrior. I will destroy them all myself. And he just goes on him. Party goes in after them, and they are dropped into the ship, the lower parts of the hull, which is the Infinity engine, right? The Soul engine. So that's.
So when is Clyde and Alcina a thing?
When they come back out?
Have they always been a couple?
They're always a couple.
They were a couple as far as the first episode, because they go ahead.
Yeah, so we mentioned at the very beginning, my first D&D session ever, I created Alcina and Dave played Clyde. So
but not in Aurora.
Not in Aurora. Okay. So then what Dave did is he just brought them into Aurora. So they were always
okay. All right.
A couple. She always would hang out in his hood. And that was just they were always together. So it wasn't touched on as much, but yeah, she was always there.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea of who those people were, Alcina was a pacifist, and that goes deep into how would that work, kind of with Alara, how things move if they moved over to Aurora, how they met and how they stuck together and what they meant to each other. So as far as the very first session, they were already part of lore and didn't come to more and more fruition until it became pertinent.
Which I like to think that Alcina was an informant for Clyde, and then they fell in love. She was part of the Fox tribe, so she would give him information on what was going on in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I think in headcanon wise, and it was kind of hinted at that the Foxes with Roy's situation, the Academy one shot, is that Foxes were hunted to near extinction because they were, I think it's the silver fox, golden fox. Was their mascot, so it's kind of like a prestige pelt. So they were hunted to near extinction. So as a pacifist, she wasn't going to go attack the poachers. So that's kind of like that's part of it.
Huh.
So she's like, I don't know about gonna die, but just like I'm pretty alone.
Yeah, but then after.
And Clyde's
Clyde
like,
did
I have no
the
problem
thing.
killing these people.
Yeah, like her. Well, I remember like her whole thing after Clyde got stuck into the portal is that she's like, I'm gonna do anything it takes to get him back. And she went off in her own direction, and like we try to keep tabs on her. Like we tried to help. Like I don't think it wasn't her main focus, but like if there's something that she could do to help, she would try to do it.
Yeah.
If it popped up.
And that's like a
she felt
huge
guilty.
tangential plot from season 1 to season 6. So it's worth jumping into before we start going into the Infinity Engine, because that has to do with multiple wishes.
And Clyde.
Like Clyde being okay and Farron being okay had to do with what happened down in the Infinity Engine very indirectly. Because she got a wish to spend.
Io keeps making wishes that are both good and cause problems.
I mean, at the end of the day, it lets life live. So it's not
That's
the
true.
worst.
All her wishes have been like, please, just can we not die? Like, remember that time we didn't die?
So as far as like headcanon goes, because there's stuff that hasn't been written, was Alcina was part of the Fox tribe. The Fox tribe was effectively like eradicated due to poaching of the foxes, and the druids of the Fox tribe that were not like Alcina and pacifists, because not all of them were fought and then overwhelmed and killed. So eventually it was an attrition, so that it was just basically Alcina tending to the tribe, and that's really just the wilderness, because she's a land druid, not a shapeshifter, despite constantly turning into a fox. So she's not particularly strong. Very similar to the backstory prior to is that Clyde was out hunting poachers who were assassination marks, and it was in Alcina's area, and she's a pacifist and like, no, don't kill people, and it's like,
yeah,
I'm gonna kill people, and she's like, no, yes, no, yes, and they end up kind of just stuck with each other, resolving some issues out, and from there they were rather inseparable. Going through and investigating the other things that are happening. She was there when Clyde, who was an agent of Kellenborg at that time, not a Candle, was recruited by Edward Vitali, who was the son of the royal family, who was made victim of Willis's experiment to like end the game, or make it so that the game didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
Pivot there. Willis was doing that because everything was happening to Ty, so that his brother wouldn't have to suffer, that no one had to suffer anymore. Everyone in the Targaryen family really has this righteous kind of attitude in their way of doing it. So, Ty's was, I will kill all the cultists of Gigareth so that there's no power to draw upon. Willis was, if I sever the power or redirect it or drain it out, there won't be any ability to do so. Io's was, you're not supposed to be a woman. Like, never, ever in the history of the game has a woman done it. It's always been the firstborn male, and she's the one that put an end to it. So, whoop whoop. So there's lots of different ways of going about it.
Yeah.
So that means Edward Vitali was effectively dead. His soul was stolen. Like, he was like in this very state of half-life. So in headcanon, the idea is that Clyde was actually there to claim Edward's soul, because he works for Kellenborg, the god of death. And it's an aberration to live in that state. So gods and kings, beggars, it doesn't matter who you are. You have to go, it's time for you to move on. You gotta go take care of your soul. And Alcina wasn't going to have anything about it. So it's just like, no. And like that sort of, like, she has fire, like as a pacifist, like not wanting to fight doesn't mean that you're weak. It's like that this is the harder path. So, Clyde really respected that and, that's about the time where they effectively fell in love at that point moving forward. And they were inseparable, saying, like, well, whatever we'll do, we'll figure this out. If things are hard, we'll figure this out.
Yeah.
But we won't take the easy road just because that's what's comfortable. We do what's right. And that's also the case in point where the thing with doing the right thing is what got him in hell. It's like he could have just like walked away, and he did not. Because it's not what the type of world that Alcina was protecting. It would not be the same if devils were everywhere. So there's this huge plot thread behind it. And it was ultimately at the end where Alcina had to make those rough choices, like, what am I going to do with this case? Who am I to do these things? I'm on the top of this tower. Clyde's gone. He's in hell with one arm. He's probably dead, like, instantly. And instead of giving up, she just fought harder. So she stopped. It was like a transformation twist for her character, even though she's an NPC, to become the Firefox. It's like a very, very dark Phoenix story, or just Phoenix story. And ironically, that's where she ended up going ultimately, after trying a few different things and petitioning a lot of help to get the help she needed, which was the Phoenix in the Ember Cave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's because of that unrelenting, passion and just for life and death, and it's just that perfect symbolism for her, considering Clyde is an agent of death.
I had so many characters try to save Clyde.
So many.
So many.
So many.
Three characters try to save Clyde, and then Clyde came back and he hated Io, and I was playing Io. I was like, God damn it! I worked so hard to save you.
It's like, I gave you a coin. It's like, were you planning on using that to help me out? Oh, that's right, you didn't. I hate you. So that was Clyde and Alcina's side story. They're a power couple. They've got kiddos. You who shows up in Slayers is their like babysitter. Or I think it's not you, it's just Humor. He doesn't get the nickname.
Yeah, Humor. He doesn't get you because you was a
character from a different season we played together.
A different world.
Mm-hmm. Great DM, by the way. I've completely forgotten his name.
Yeah.
Is that a Persona reference?
Who, you?
At all? Or, yeah.
From 4? No.
I don't think
I think we were playing it before Persona 4 was a thing. I will say, good reference though, that the masked agents, like one of the side was Persona 5 because the masks. And I think there was Jack. The big thing with Jack was like Joker, like looking cool Jack. I think was even mentioned.
Yeah.
The other fun twist was that a majority of the characters were still in Rem's campaign, so a few of them were characters from either that campaign or the one-shots. Mostly Lark, who I think was Victoria's character during the time travel one-shot, and Ember, who was Roxy and the Bard.
Right.
Yep, so those two made an appearance there, and then there was Jack, and then there was the Yanti that Stephanie played, and I forget who the fifth was.
I can't remember.
I can't remember either. But like they were all like little layered Easter eggs. I think after the first season, Easter egging was the fun thing to add in, and there's every session has at least one. Like, I'm not doing my job if I'm not putting a couple in. Season 2. So to circle back,
Engine.
Yes, the engine. So the party dropped in the engine. This is when you see people who were very, if you have a wish, do these things now, meow, people, because there was bracelets, and the bracelets would allow you to exchange them based off of what you're doing in there, from like, I think it was bronze, copper, to silver to gold. Right.
Ooh.
You could exchange them. And you to leave, you have to at least have a silver bracelet. And if you don't, you're stuck there. Like, that's it. Game over.
Yikes.
And it was based off of ideas like of the prisoner's dilemma, where all of you have your own bracelet. Some of you can get points doing this to make them better bracelets. Some can't. And the idea of this huge piece of greed, because at the end, there is there was a like a vault where like if you have a gold bracelet and you're like screw all these people, you could get a lot of like loot effectively out of it.
Ooh.
So ironically, the person who was doing the best throughout all this was Io, and she ended up getting a gold bracelet.
Nice.
I think everyone else came really close to just getting silver. But everyone managed to. And there were little fun things that happened in there. The one that I remember most was the rooms where you had to coordinate, where half the party went left and half the party went right. And you had to, like, go and do specific things that affected the other room to get to the end. And not only to get through the room is one thing, but go to the other room and then get, like, points effectively.
Yeah, and then we got
for your
stuck in a
bracelet.
maze. I remember
The maze was great. Yeah, the maze you got stuck through. I don't remember what the maze was other than it was a maze that you had to go through. And
yeah, I know you got in and it was like darkness and we couldn't see each other. We just
Yes.
like every time you entered it, you didn't know where the other person was.
Right.
And you just had to kind of go through and hope that you got to the other side.
Or get stuck there
And-
forever, right?
Yeah, and I know Io got to a place where she actually got a wish, and her wish was that everyone made it out alive.
Yeah. Which had impacts to other people, to Farron, who by this was like the player was gone, but he would have had died. Or at least the idea that he would have been worse off than he was. And also affected people like Clyde. So like he should have, yeah. So the wish was as well natured, so it was benign enough to have better effects. And generally,
And
wishes.
then everyone got angry at me because they didn't like my wish.
I mean, a couple people did. They're like, "You could have done anything with this wish." I'm like, "Yeah, but what I really wanted happened, so fuck off." It also allowed people to leave the Infinity Engine rather unscathed. It helped out a lot more than was noted. Because the idea between that is effectively coal for fire. So it allowed that to leave. The other thing that happened in there that comes to mind is that...
The Clyde encounter.
The Clyde encounter and also the crystal dress. Or the golden dress.
Yeah, we're going to turn this part of it into gold. And I was like, well, fuck this.
So you got the golden thing, and she got it. And what the golden bracelet actually gave her was a Midas touch. So she touched her dress, which started to become gold.
Ooh.
And then I think because I put the bracelet on, I remember because I put the bracelet on, and then I went to go touch my dress and it turned to gold. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to do this. So I took the bracelet off and I took the silver one because I'm like, it's not worth it. I don't want to turn people to gold. And then people also got pissed because then I didn't have.
Yeah, it's like, you could have done all these things. We can turn everything we had on us into gold. So
Like
same people that were getting upset about the misuse of a wish or perceived misuse of the wish. The other thing was the Clyde encounter, which was at the very end. So there was a lot of fun little traps and puzzles. I remember one involving you guys sliding down like a slope, and you had to not go into the pikes.
Oh, the dead bodies.
Yeah, it was one of the smarter things you guys did. Yeah, actually, I think Sam would appreciate this one. So there was a trap as you went through. What?
This is not this season.
Wasn't?
This is not Io. This is when we go into the what is the word I'm thinking of? Mines.
No, this happens.
Does it happen?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Everything blends together. I know things happen.
No, because this has a slope downwards. I remember the map that I drew for it, and so it's like a 45-degree slope down, and you're gonna slip. It's very slick. Mm-hmm. And then at the bottom is like a little bit of ground, and then spikes at the end. So you have to find a way to go down this steep slope without propelling yourself into spikes, and then go around this wall and then climb up a slope. And if you fall backwards, you're falling backwards into spikes. So,
oh my god.
People were pretty smart about it. Like, people had died here before because at the beginning they met a party that didn't do so well. People were just being shuffled in. They're like, hey, are there bodies? I'm like, yes, there are. People have died here. I'm like, great. So we're going to go ahead and rappel down, which was pretty smart. But then they have to go up. Like, no, what we'll do, we'll create speed bumps. So we'll take bodies and make them speed bumps. Which was very helpful because they went up and tried to climb up the other side and messed up a few times, but the speed bump really minimized the impact of going back down. So it was pretty ingenious. I was very proud of the players for pulling that one off. That was a very good way to get around it. The end of it did involve the fight with like a Jin, and he was very forge boisterous and like maintaining the area. Like, you can leave. That's where Klaus came in, because you had to let Klaus in, and Klaus helped you out from one side.
That all happened. Did that happen in there, or was that the water? Oh my god, everything.
No, that wasn't the Ishtia temple. Nope. Okay. The Ishtia temple and the water temple had a lot of individual scenes in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Not the Jin battle, and that's also when you saw that Clyde was trying to escape Avernus.
Yeah, we saw him like jump through.
Yeah, he was trying to break through the veil, much like devils and demons do, to the material plane. Only he was only able to do it for very brief periods of time, which also harks back to how the gate works. So he was only able to do that for seconds, and when in doing so, he was like using his the way that his daggers work, but instead to pull over to the material plane. And evidently, he was anchored to where Io was. So when he came across, he was fighting. They also made the very silly choice of there were was it like your worst fear or like doppelgangers, and one doppelganger was Clyde, but Clyde had 2 arms, so they saw through that, and they used that for Clyde to try to get over to back to the material plane. He failed, but on the other side, effectively, it was the equivalent of him like trying to jump through the looking glass.
Like, there was like a mirror or something.
Yeah,
I remember. Okay.
And he was trying to like break through that way, but it kept on like elasticity drawing him back to Avernus. So he kind of like half appeared in that one. It was more like a background activity that was entertaining to watch as they fought. And then they escaped.
Then we escaped, and then we met Paolo.
And that so you escaped. You didn't escape out the traditional way. You escaped out like towards the bottom part of the ship, and you were there with I think Sahagin royalty with the spear, because that's where I used my spear prop, which was fun because it's sharp. And then you met Paolo, and Paolo was and Paolo was passed out down there, and with the Panger, and Panger was the one who was like, okay, it's time to go, to wake up. And if you remember the Slayers correctly, it's the same time that when Panger returned after Lil died. So. So so like Panger was like letting him know that like Lil's gone, so he's able to wake up now.
It makes sense now.
Yeah. So little side threads to pull that he had to heal, and it took a lot of time, and Lil was effectively living her best life, and in doing so would give Paolo his best life when he came back. Like it's like an all of memory of the long soul effort, considering the way Lil's power worked as a champion. So Paolo woke up, then you guys went down to Temple Ishtia. That was the water temple.
Yeah, because he woke up and we're like, well, we have to get out of this boat, and we managed to like break out of the boat somehow, and he put us in like a bubble.
Yes.
And the bubble took us down to the Temple of Ishtia because we're like underwater, like what the fuck?
And Ishtia is a sea deity. So you guys go into a water temple, so literally a water temple, which was kind of funny, like fucking water temple. But it was a gorgeous temple. The idea of the Pisces Forge was also like a harken back to that, where you're there and you see things and you're underwater, but you feel as though you're not. You have freedom of motion and whatnot. So you'll see things that like that's fish, cool. Yeah. And find out that
paint that
thing, yeah.
And it had like 5 levels to it. And the lowest one is where like the dragon was. And there were other ones like the ritual area, and it was under siege. Like someone was defiling the temple because, fun fact, Leviathan and Lancite, the bronze dragon, were there making sure that Skyport didn't, become Skyport.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, it became Skyport.
Spoiler alert, they did not succeed.
Oh no.
That is due to another character.
That was due to another character's in Slayers and her antics, correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, in season 2,
a lich? Was that where we came
a
across
lich. Yeah, it was a lich that was trying to best the dragon. And he was doing so by methodically reducing Ishtia's protection. Mm-hmm. And being proud, the dragon would protect the temple and eventually would not be able to do both. So it's just a matter of where he could divert his resources to. There were no more worshippers. They took care of that. Very...
Oh, that's when my dress got blessed.
Yes, at the very end. Correct.
Dress got blessed.
Yeah. But that's when like you spent some time with Palo, and Palo was very... Palo... I guess I don't know how else to explain how Palo is.
Palo.
He was very Palo. You guys went down to like a ritual area where like it was this big open like amphitheater like area and an altar that was broken, and someone made a great use of the mending spell to fix it, and then restored Ishtia's power to the temple and really subverted needing to do anything else there at all. Just right there. It's like great, you basically repaired the fence. Great, that's all you need to do. Like, you didn't need to get rid of the lich, you didn't need to get rid of other threats, you just took a very tactical problem and fixed it. Cool. There was also the idea, I think, like Shadow something was attacking them, and Palo like was constantly shielding people as you fought, and I think did like a weird lightning bolt because magic worked different. Like a lightning bolt works different underwater. It was more like a blast or diffusion. It was interesting. Ishtia Temple, you guys fixed that. She got you down to where the dragon was, where Lancite was. It was just a bronze dragon. Io had a conversation with Io had a conversation with Lancite, which is where you started learning more about Targ, and that referring to him as the children of the shield bearer as opposed to anything else. You know, she gave her golden pieced dress that she had touched earlier, like de-dressed, and got her very regal dress that she was wearing ever since, which I think gave things like perception and something else. It was very nice.
Yeah, she could see people that were invisible. Like she could like kind of activate her dress, and it would allow her to see invisible things around her.
Yeah, not that she ever used it, but effectively it was the for the perception abilities. Yeah. As well. It was like what is it? Robe of the Watcher, it was Robe of the Eyes with a kicker to see invisibility.
Ooh, yeah. That's really cool.
So he had to say, it's like I gotta stay down here, and kind of explain why. With this Ishtia return, like things are more in his favor. So with that, they left, or the party left the Ishtia temple.
I think that's where the season ended, because I think we just ended in the temple. I don't think we ever made it out just because of like scheduling. We couldn't get people. I think that's where we end up, just like, because season 2 ended kind of like unceremoniously with like, well, we can't schedule things anymore, so season 2's over.
Yeah.
So I think in the temple is where we ended it.
All right, well, maybe it ended in that place. I know that at some point in time is where the arena fight happened, and Ferd happened. And, you know, going in through the sewers happened with Boo and Ferd.
Yeah, I think it happened like before.
Maybe the temple happened last. Well, the last thing that happened that I can remember was you guys were researching with Palo, so you had to get Palo first. You were researching...
Oh, yes, maybe that did happen after.
Yeah, because you left with Palo was helping you get into the academy.
Right. Oh, yep. You're right. Okay.
Right.
So many things happened.
So many things happened. So, I think at that point, you might be thinking of season 4, where you guys went to like Outpost 5 and the mines. So this was just with the Tempest guy, not Tempest guy plus crew.
My brain hurts.
Is so much. That's why you need Fireside chat, just to try to organize some of the things that happened.
And it's just mine and Dave's memory. Like, hold on.
Yeah, like I can't even help you guys. Like you're on your own.
Well, fortunately, this is recorded, so you guys got like what I'm up to now, 3.5 hours worth of things that need to go into World Anvil.
Oh, fucking hell.
Please help. what else? So, assuming my memory is correct, and it did not end with the Ishtia Temple, you guys, at the very least, returned to Crystallis to investigate how to address the hourglass situation, which there was an incantation of Memento Mori, which would break it.
This
Right,
is
and
still
that's
season 2, right?
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Seal Season 2.
So okay, I remembered things.
Okay.
So that's when Gig, because that's when we kind of I had pieced together that Gig was the blonde-haired woman.
White-haired woman.
White-haired woman, and we had found out that Paolo was somehow connected, and like Paolo got like super disappointed in Gig. She's like, "Hey, I had this hourglass, and like I can't hurt them." He's like, "Well, we need to look into that."
Mm-hmm.
So then we went to go to Crystallis. Now I know at some point we go to the temple and Ferd eats a stone and then he starts turning into a minotaur.
Right. So I remember things. So everyone had to go into Crystallis. Like, we're going back to Crystallis. You meet Booberry unceremoniously and Ferd.
Right. I don't think Ferd came in until then.
Right. I know that they couldn't go in because they killed a wizard. Like,
we can go past that.
All right, we'll just completely sidebar the Boo and Ferd situation.
They were wanted. They had to sneak in.
Right. Okay, you went to Crystallis. I think that was when the arena thing happened. No, the arena thing couldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened then because Sebastian was a bird then, not a griffin.
I just know that we gave Ferd a hard time because he was a horse and he was trying to tell Ty's horse to like stand up against him, and that's what killed him. I remember that being a thing that we would joke with Greg about.
Okay. I believe you. I just don't remember when it happened.
I just can't remember when it happened either, but yeah, I know Sebastian was a bird. He's his own bird, and he like, called his way down there. So I don't know when that happened. It just happened.
Okay.
No, it happened, and it got the horse killed. And then like everyone got pissed.
Oh my god, I can't believe this. Ferd was in season 1.
Huh?
Had to have been. Because Minotaur Island, remember? Yeah. And he went and touched a thing, and his thing was a shield. So around the time where Balto was there, so way back in season 1.
Maybe once Modeslock left, we tried to have Ferd come in?
I think so. I think you're right.
God, everything's just melting together. It's fine.
So Ferd was there. He did not do anything memorable. I feel really bad for saying that, but I only remember him turning into a minotaur. That's it.
and eating a stone.
Yep. A knowledge stone so that he could speak, not horse.
Yep.
So season 1 continues to be the season of clusterfuckery that just kind of spilled over to season 2.
That makes more sense. I'm like, yes, that couldn't have happened in season 2, but I know Ferd was there. Like, my brain's like, no, Ferd had to have been there. We made too many jokes about it.
So he was in season 1 when Sebastian was just a hawk.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right, with it. Fantastic. Season 2.
We got there.
I think that in season 2, he ended up the captain of the guard.
Well, yeah, because we put Ferd
in charge
of the outpost.
Yeah. Fair enough. And then I think that Ferd was not there. Enough. Yeah, fair enough. I don't think Ferd was in season 2.
Right, because he
couldn't make it. Yeah.
Couldn't make it. Yeah.
So he was written out after season 1.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Okay. Still with it. Season 2, however, the only other thing I can remember from season 2 is that I'm pretty sure it nearly ended after Ishtia, because the only thing you did after that was go to the academy. So it might as well have been. And that's where you left with Paolo researching the hourglass. That was season 2. Ishtia Temple and go to the academy.
Mm-hmm.
The end. I'm going to stop talking because my voice is dying at this point.
My brain is tired. Any questions?
Yeah, so That might be the better thing. Here's a lot of lore that does not exist in World Anvil that please help me put it in there, because I can't do it in November. I'm still remoing.
Well, I think this was really good because there are a few recaps of this stuff, but they're kind of scattered.
Yeah.
I think the biggest one is in season 6. You guys do a whole recap over this, but it's not nearly as comprehensive as this. I think specifically with Dahlia and that ship stuff, because that gets scattered out throughout, because that wasn't really important to like you guys all meeting up, right?
Yeah.
You and Io were or Dahlia and Io were friends, so I think it kind of pulled in a lot of the side stuff and kind of compressed it. So that
because
was really
none of that was
I can help
recorded.
type stuff with this.
Yeah.
So I think this will help us all kind of type this out. You can just listen to it and type it out. So big brain dump.
If you got like a lot of time to transcribe 4 hours of me talking about lore.
But I also think it's interesting because it puts just how we see Ty now and kind of seeing where Ty started. So like, I hated Ty for the longest time until season 6, until we saw him again, like understood a little bit later. Like, but I mean, and you can kind of understand why. Like, I was like, Ty's a dick. Like, he can die. Ty's a dick.
I mean, he was in the same. He was in the same bucket with like Goldstein. So see, he's about as hated as Jacob Wade is currently, or was in season 1 and 2.
Yep. And really until like we came across him again in season 6, like a good chunk of it.
Yep.
But Jacob White, he's made appearances in other seasons, though, hasn't he?
Yes, that would be the next season.
Tune in next time.
Season 3, where Jacob White does make an appearance, and we learn how do we do when we try to handle bases.
Sam was saying like Ty appeared in other seasons. Jacob White appeared in season.
But he's only been in that one season, season 3.
Who, Jacob?
Season 5.
Yeah.
In 5.
And 5. What?
The Slayers had to go to Outpost 6, and they had to go up.
Oh, right, and they briefly right.
He also was in season 6.
Yeah, he's just right, because you had your thing.
Jacob.
But he's basically been like a unsettling existence, but not like a villain. Just like, oh hey,
yeah.
Gotcha.
You like to procure things, and you seem. I feel like there's something else up with you, but I don't know what it is. But he was never explored.
You guys
until
punched him in the face a few times, and
Good.
God, what was it you guys did in not Slayers, Bronze Bastion?
Now's not the time to ask that question.
Yeah. So to make it easier, I can sum up all of season 3. This is either my inability to count correctly or the season that never was, because season 4 was Bronze Bastion.
Yeah.
And then 5 was Slayers.
I think it was the season that never was.
The season that never was. Season 3. People have this weird comfort with the number 3, so I just skipped right over it.
So like, no, season 3 doesn't exist. Like, it's fine.
How exactly does the Infinity Engine work? Like, what do the souls do?
Sure.
That part?
So it goes back to the idea with early Gig that as a builder in that aspect, he can't break things. So he instead, to compensate, creates objects to do that. The best way of thinking of the Infinity Engine is if I can't break this, I'll create a machine that is like a metal grinder. So it kind of grinds up your soul and uses the resources.
Oh.
So the act of grinding is the maze. It's not just as simple as a physical action. It's an emotional and spiritual action. So being tested and found wanting.
Same thing with like what happened to Gabe, over something like that, but on a larger scale, kind of.
Yeah, and the interesting thing with what's happened with Gabe is kind of like it's like the counterpoint to it, because it was, so spoiler alerts, cover your ears if you don't want to hear it, but we'll call her Pain for the lack of a better word, created an object 2 on a smaller scale to do that because she's not a breaker. So her call them the black spider legs of death and pain and misery. Yes, then they're designed to create that instead at a much smaller scale.
Okay.
Oh boy.
With that,
Doing good?
Yep. Yeah.
Because she is silver haired and, well, she's only half of her to make things absolutely worse. So don't worry, parts of Gabe are absolutely still there, and very few characters truly die. Gabe has a very interesting arc, and is not withholden from what's going on in Arhor'ha by any stretch. He's more of a Italian-esque character, though, right now.
Oh, shit. With that, is it possible for, like, pieces of the souls to, like, form together into a single consciousness? Not like...
No,
like
I know
Jig to
where
where
you're
it's
going
like-
with that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's something that's was being explored during both the Gate series, and it will be coming to a larger head in season 9.
Oh.
I'd say at least 2 of the plots cover that metaphysical law.
Oh, boy.
Do 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 do.
God.
Do-do-do-do,
Yeah, and the same thing true with like the pieces thereof. There's, yeah, I don't want to go too deep into plot spoiler land.
Gotcha.
I've already dropped the one bomb with pain for it to make any sense.
I was just asking because me and Alex were talking about a character, and I was like, what if this character came from the Infinity Engine, and then all the like little bits of souls like formed together to make one big consciousness? It's like, I wonder if that's possible.
In a lot of ways, Gig has that rattling around in his brain because holding the raw resources is a lot like carrying that. So his time, space, and mild insanity comes from millions of whispers. Plus the idea that majority of the major items that he has built, such as the armor and the betrayer, are not a single consciousness. It's just the betrayer is the loudest. And the armor is actually, I mentioned it in season 1, Olivia, the little girl. She is the loudest, the strongest willed that's in the armor. So with Talion and his arc being part of what he was doing, was if you remember how beholden he was to Io, he certainly had a degree of chivalry to him. So instead, he felt that it was better to do one minor good thing, which was protect Olivia. Because Io was kind of like half of a lost cause, and the Targaryen line was like half of a lost cause. But he never completely gave up on them, as seen in like season 6. Although he still ended up, eradicated. So I mean, it just let no good deed go unpunished. It's not a Disney ending for everyone just because you do a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And plus, both that and the Pisces Forge has an amalgamation of souls. The idea of if you grind things down, there's not a complete transference of energy, and it doesn't disappear, it doesn't dissipate. The idea of those laws, so they end up getting filtered through the Pisces Forge.
We didn't fully figure out that forge, did we?
Pisces or the whole everything?
Well, I mean, yes and yes.
We like
Pisces-
partially.
I mean, we know that it was like a place of holding souls, like a fish tank,
like a nurture, like a nursery, or what the hell they call those
Nursery
things.
for
Nursery,
stuff.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, because it's also, I think, something that we can, because we've got our little soul stones, but that's not where we're going this next season.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Which we still didn't really figure that out either.
Nope.
Yeah, so I think that's another plot of like
Mhm.
the fuckery.
Yep. The idea there was to get you guys on an airship, and you guys can figure out how to go ahead and see life.
But next season we're doing angst.
Oh yeah, it's
Angst,
edgelordy McBrudersons, but most of the plots have a I wouldn't say a dark twist. They all do, but they're
Everything
all
is
like that.
sad.
I mean, I'm really happy about the hidden plot. I'm very happy about the obvious plot. There is a factoid that has been in existence since season 5 that's going to come to head with one of the major plots, which will be fun.
Oh God, I am. It's gonna be great.
Well, it definitely changed the way Sin wants to approach at least one of her problems.
Oh God.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is cool when you're part of a team.
Everything is
Everything
awesome.
is awesome.
We live in the dream.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for like Sin and Alexis to have a big fight and like I'm gonna do it my way and be like, well, my way is not going to work anymore. So come back, bestie.
Oh man, I can't wait. I can't wait. We got. Oh man, that song we're gonna do. That's gonna be great, Emma.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're doing a song.
We're doing a song.
A duet.
It's like Alexa and Sin. It's actually almost spot on.
Creepy. It's terrifying. Yeah.
I'm personally very excited about the Shirley one because that's also been going on since season 1 with the Blights.
Oh boy. Shirley.
Oh yeah.
If you. Oh wait.
Shirley's
Wait.
no
Is Shirley
fucking joke.
gonna like actual plant is like gonna be there? Like.
I think the best way of thinking about it is if you've been watching a few seasons of Batman and Poison Ivy's been like on the DL for a while, but she hasn't been doing nothing.
Well, so like, did Shirley get brought back to life? Because wasn't Shirley in Avernus in the big battle royale?
She was.
All those souls were given to Gig, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Of course they were.
Yeah.
Of course all
That
those
was
souls were. I'm so sorry. What was I thinking? Of course.
No, they didn't just go anywhere.
Pats, good Sid, good.
So her and her lover Leaf are all going off.
Oh, the Forest Warrior. Yeah.
Is Leaf dead?
Yeah.
Is Leaf dead? Is Leaf
Oh no, Leaf's making a return
Why?
too.
No.
Well, that was the whole thing with Safina, right? Like.
Yep.
I hate Leaf
Like
so
Safina
much.
came and whacked at Shirley, and Leaf and Shirley just went, "Okay, bet." And I was just like,
Also,
okay.
like Ironside's like, I have a perfect character. Welcome to a series of crits, along with smites.
Oh God.
It's like,
We're gonna find the next Fireside. Why I hate Leaf so much.
Well, some excitement. While we were able to do this Fireside chat, I was able to finish up prepping for the one shot. So
Ooh.
I'll be running a one shot soon. So
Ooh.
I'll need to get with you, Dave, probably in a little bit, just to iron
Oh.
out. Just like I've got it in my head. I just like strategically like where things are. But like
Yeah.
I've got everything in my head, and I've got all my. I don't mind running and improving it. So
Okay.
I got.
Is it in the wastes?
It is.
Oh, okay. There's a lot of that you can carve for your own out there, and that's kind of like how Arhor'ha is to be set to. Like, if you want a little village somewhere, that's fine. Like the idea that there are some named places, it's designed so that you can just add things on. The waste is just so damn open.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to grab it, because I was just like, oh, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yep.
So.
And the only thing out there that really has any canonical basis is the Skybreaker's tribe, which is the blue dragonborns that Runt came from. That although Runt wasn't played, and Elohim.
Elohim, that's not Soul. Elohim, that's right.
Yeah, Soul's there too. You're right. So Soul Verde, so the other side of Verde, Soul, which is where the Soul Sarah was from, and the temple with the monks of the White Flame. Beyond that, it's meant to be very West Marches-esque. Like, I want to find a ruin. It's like, fantastic. Go to the west. You found a ruin. You can put it wherever the hell you want.
Questions.
Yep.
About lore. You ready?
Sure.
Right.
Now's a good time to ask, because if I start writing in my Remo, I'm not gonna come up for air.
What is a god that would be a big deal in Elohim?
It's just one, which is well, it's a Lathander. Like, they're extremely religious. They're a religious town. They're like a theocratic town. So it's Lathander now, but it has another name with like you matter. I don't remember what the hell it's called.
Certainly not Celestian.
No, it is absolutely not. 1 second, I'll tell you. Because after 4 hours of talking, my brain ain't really coming back with it.
I'm sorry, I'm offering.
I was actually correct. It just I was saying it wrong. Amanator, Amaunator. So back in AD&D lands, it was the god of fire and the sun.
Got it.
And Lathander, who is the Morning Lord of creative dawn, birth, and renewal, is like the softer version, but they're the same. They're the same god. They were considered two separate deities. Again, after second sundering, whatever.
Okay, would Lathander just be okay to say as like the common name?
That's they would be the only one that would call them specifically differently. They call them All Matter.
Okay.
But it is Lathander, and Lathander is a very prominent god in Arhor'ha. There's that Temple of Mask in Lathander.
Yeah.
Also, gods in Soul. The major god in Soul.
There isn't. Mostly because people that settled Soul are fleeing religious persecution from an overbearing theocracy. Most people there are spiritual, like Buddhists.
People from Elohim are going to Soul. Is that the idea?
People that don't want to be persecuted do the long walk across the desert.
Right, got it. Okay, cool. I know what I'm working with now.
Yeah, also that means the people that generally make it to Soul are like hardier, hence how the monastic order founded. Also, they had Solsera, so kind of helped. Mm. And that's why, even though Alara was like, "Where were you in the desert?" She's like, "I was there. You would have died so many fucking times. You thought you were doing it with your own will, and I was doing a pretty good job of making sure that you thought that you were doing it on your own. But most people die out there."
Celestian, why are you yelling at me?
I know, I'm just trying so hard. It's like, you know how hard it is to make sure you live and make it look like I'm not helping you.
Oh, I miss Alara.
So religion would be a big thing out in the desert. That's good. It kind of lines up perfectly with the one shot that I have. So
okay. Yep. Yeah. When life is hard, people fall to religion. Life is short out there.
So basically, the idea is that you guys are going to be contracted. Sorry, I don't mean to be stealing. I don't know if you guys need to go to bed and whatnot. So
I mean, I need to jump to Taco Bell a little bit, but go crazy.
Okay. So basically, you guys are going to be doing basically a westward march. You guys are going to be hired. It's real basic. I just wanted to get my feet wet. So you guys are hired. You guys are going to be part of a caravan to deliver some relics from one place to another, and then shenanigans ensue.
Shenanigans.
So
caravan shenanigans.
Bring time back.
So I should be able to run it probably by Friday next week. I'll kind of keep you guys posted. But everything's all set up. So if you guys want to go ahead and start working on characters, this is desert horrible land. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, if you survive to the end, congratulations.
Make characters that will survive.
Correct. There are some beefy boys. Just keep that. Yeah. So yeah.
It's like a Dark Suns campaign.
Matilda!
Oh, God.
What? It's quite hard out here.
I was so confused. Although it's kind of interesting you mentioned Matilda, as someone from that one shot is in season 9.
No.
It's not Matilda.
Darn.
So if you're interested in playing, you get to
be a player. I know.
Yeah.
November, I gotta make sure I keep to my quota first and foremost. That's gonna be the big kicker.
Fair enough.
I'll probably still create a character for keeping the background. I've actually given that a lot of thoughts. I already know what I want to play for that. Whether I'll be able to play it is the question.
Well, I can work it out with you. I'm free every day after 12, so my schedule's a lot less. I'm also waiting. I kind of want to give yeah, I want to give some other people some chances to like give it and play too, because like we've got some people sitting in the back. So
yeah, I'd probably do
pretty
priority to that, to the people that don't get a chance to play. Like that's also the big thing I really love about the one shots too. People that don't get a chance to play. Like I give priority to anyone who just did not get through the door for season 9. Instant priority.
Right. So we'll see how this goes.
Considering I'm DMing, that means I'll be like, okay. But I'll be interested to see how it goes. It's really hard in my mind. It's really hard to bork the lore in Arhor'ha, because there's just so much. It's a highly magical world. I mean, there's just so much improv you can do for it to make sense. And there are islands off. Not that we need to talk to Crit, but 90% of the time, like don't like leave the mainland unless it's like a really important part of your character. Like even Safina left the mainland as a sailor, but it wasn't a main part of his story. Boop. Oh, I didn't get to do more with like the orcs and the strigoforms in the Gate series. They were in there.
Orcs.
Yeah.
Yes, orcs.
Yeah, and the stuff from Relic Hunters, like there was more references to the Tayala lore that traded in. Like the place. So, I guess we're out of the season anyway. But the place where you encountered the Scarecrow, that was Avernus-esque, was actually Trimount. So it was beneath the Orc Island, which was nuked. So you're below it.
Oh.
So why is Thomas there?
Well, Thomas is there for a very good reason. So Thomas
He knows why he's there.
Thomas.
I'm sorry.
So the pieces of Thomas are there. Phalor did a pretty damn good job of shattering him, and that side lost. So the pieces.
I did it twice, Dave. Did it twice.
God. So that like the Scarecrow and parts of him were the Cerberuses were guarding him, trying to keep him from getting out, and they were rather immune to his malice. But he was in 3 separate pieces in that prison because they don't want his soul going anywhere. They don't want him passing on. They want people taking pieces of it. They just want him gone. So, prison.
Oh, that's depressing.
No, it's not.
Like, there's like the darkest timeline. That was if Thomas won. Like, there's nothing playful or interesting about it. It's just everything dies.
So if you're being kept like that, you're not able to move on or anything. Like, what is that person just in like internal sleep?
No, he's very much conscious. He's maddeningly separate. So the interesting thing with that is that the parts of him that can do anything are like in hell, like traditional like torment. The parts of him that can't think completely. The parts of his body just act out of malice. That was the Scarecrow, by the way.
Oh. Huh.
The best way to explain who Thomas is if you're familiar with Game of Thrones and or read the books, Ramsay Bolton. Like, he's very evil.
Oh. Gotcha. Okay.
And he's very just toxic.
Yes.
Just like his attitude and the way that he plays with people is just so toxic.
So it was assumed that like Belania and how Belania went and became. Did I ever go like how Belania became a champion and all that?
You mentioned briefly, but not in depth. But I am getting tired, so I'm gonna have to peace out.
Yeah, I gotta get some Taco Bell, but I'll give the abridged version with Belania is, if what broke your heart, what happened to Gabe, the thing that happened to Belania happened too. And that was kind of like a playoff too, because Nas and Belania, Trey and Gabe, the Belania was also like McTortured, and had her hopes like really brought up and like completely destroyed by Thomas. Like the idea that her family is alive and it's not because Thomas is a shapeshifter.
one last thing. She's still alive because she's being protected by Tard, right?
But Belania is still alive. Yes.
Because right before she so
It's
Thomas
a different thing, I think.
It's a different thing.
Okay. Okay.
It's not because she was. It's a different.
Okay.
No, she was protected
Go
from like bad things happening to those heroes because she was brought into the abyss with Ty. So she was protected against any of the meta laws that would have happened to those champions. And instead, Belania and Ty had to find their way out of that corner of the abyss, of which Ty had Belania leave, and then Ty kind of like got ripped to shreds in Ty's life. So that's how that specifically has nothing to do with the Great Game. That was outside of the Great Game.
Holy
Sam.
cow. Yo.
Can I have your desert background to
My
use for things?
Desert
I'm
background.
gonna cut stream